When Grandma was about to give me the family heirloom, lucky jade pendant, I snatched it and put it around my cousin's neck instead. My uncle and aunt were over the moon, while my parents were so furious they nearly hit me right then and there. In my past life, that jade pendant was worn by me. From then on, everything went smoothly for me. I got into a top university and built a successful career, but my cousin's luck kept going downhill. Until he accidentally killed someone during a robbery and was sentenced to death. Before the execution, he gave me a chilling smile through the glass. Sis, this jade pendant swaps fortunes. Did you know? Every bit of good luck you've had came at my expense. Why must you take everything from me? I hate you. After being released from prison, he kidnapped my parents and ignited the gas canister. Amidst the sea of flames, I listened to his maniacal laughter as I turned to ashes. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my grandmother took out the jade pendant. With trembling, withered hands, Grandma carefully presented the velvet box, and everyone in the room held their breath. Inside the box lay a warm, smooth mutton fat jade pendant, resting peacefully. Vivian, this is our family heirloom. Today, I'm entrusting it to you. Grandma's voice carried a tone of favoritism, her gaze passing over my parents and my aunt and uncle, landing squarely on me. My parents Ken and May's faces instantly lit up with irrepressible joy. Meanwhile, Uncle Garrick and Aunt Rita's expressions visibly fell. Rita pursed her lips and spoke with a sour tone. Mom, you're really playing favorites here. Kai is your own grandson too. Without even lifting her eyelids, Grandma kept her cloudy eyes fixed on me. Vivian is a steady child. She can handle this blessing. In my past life, it was amidst this sea of expectant eyes that I eagerly accepted the jade pendant. My cousin Kai stood behind his parents, his eyes burning with jealousy and venom. Now, that same poisonous gaze has fallen upon me once more. The moment my grandmother offered the jade pendant, I snatched it from her hand. Before they could react, I turned around, stood on my toes, and tied the red string around Kai's neck. Vivian, have you lost your mind? My dad, Ken, was the first to snap out of it, raising his hand as if to strike me. My mom, May, shrieked and rushed forward, trying to snatch the jade pendant off Kai's neck, but the first to shield Kai were the ecstatic Rita and Garrick. Hey, what are you doing? Ken, sis-in-law, the child gave it to him. How could you just snatch it away? Rita spread her arms wide, shielding Kai behind her like a mother hen protecting her chick, her face beaming with a radiant smile. Garrick, too, shed his earlier gloom and cheerfully chimed in. Exactly. Vivian is so considerate. Knowing how to let her little brother have his way, that's a good thing. Kai hung his head, his hand clutching the jade pendant on his chest tightly, his shoulders trembling slightly with emotion. My parents were shaking with anger. My father pointed a trembling finger at my face, his lips quivering, unable to utter a single word for a long moment. My mother plopped down on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing. What did I do to deserve this? I raised such an ungrateful wretch. A traitor who always sides with outsiders. Amidst all the chaos and uproar, only I, under my parents' murderous glares, slowly curled my lips into a smile of pure satisfaction. Kai, you'd better brace yourself for the storm of misfortune that's coming your way. That night, my father beat me black and blue with his belt. He lashed out while whipping. You ungrateful brat, that was your grandmother's blessing. How dare you give it to that little bastard? My mother sobbed beside him. How did we raise such a disgrace? Are you trying to be the death of us? I gritted my teeth, refusing to utter a word. What's this pain compared to the agony of being burned alive in my past life? They carried on until midnight, only locking me in my room when they were too exhausted from hitting and cursing. Early the next morning, Rita was already in the yard, bragging at the top of her lungs. Oh, our Kai is truly blessed. He slept so much more peacefully last night. This jade pendant only works its magic when worn by the right person. As she spoke, she shot a smug glance toward my tightly shut door. Soon enough, the first stroke of luck came to pass. Kai rushed off to school in high spirits, only to trip on flat ground at the entrance and chip half of his front tooth. He came home crying, and Rita scolded him for not watching where he was going, while also comforting him that the money lost could ward off disaster. I let out a cold laugh inwardly. Meanwhile, on my way to school, I found 50 yuan on the ground. It wasn't much, But I knew it was the beginning of everything. In the days that followed, Kai's life became a parade of misfortunes. He'd choke on water, gag on food, sprain his ankle while walking, and have his bike chain fall off. He had prepared flawlessly for the midterms, but then he came down with a high fever, threw up during the exam, and ended up failing every subject miserably. Meanwhile, I, who had always trailed behind Kai academically, suddenly soared to the top of the entire school. As if touched by divine intervention, my parents stared at my report card with deeply conflicted expressions. They stopped hitting me, but their eyes held confusion and a faint, barely perceptible fear. As for my uncle and aunt's household, the atmosphere had completely shifted. Rita stopped showing off in the yard and went around with a long face every day. Garrick started sighing frequently, and the look in his eyes when he gazed at Kai shifted from affection to disdain. That day, the two families gathered again for a meal at Grandma's house. At the dinner table, just as Kai picked up a piece of braised pork and brought it to his mouth, a fly buzzed and landed precisely on the meat. Kai threw his chopsticks with a dramatic clatter, wailing, "Not again, every single thing I eat ends up with flies in it." Rita's face instantly darkened as she rapped him on the head with her chopsticks. "Stop being so fussy, it's just a fly, blow it off and eat." Kai's eyes welled up with hurt tears. There was a time when he was the apple of Rita's eye. Back then, she wouldn't just reheat his food if it got cold, she'd do it without a second thought even if a mere fly had landed on it. I deliberately picked up a bite of vegetables with my chopsticks and said softly, "Auntie, it seems cousin hasn't had the best luck lately." Rita's face darkened even more. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, she immediately snapped back. "How dare you say that? Our Kai is perfectly fine, with Grandma's jade pendant. He's blessed with the best fortune." I just smiled and didn't say another word. "Fortune, soon enough, you'll find out whether this is a blessing or a death sentence." The final mock exam before the Gaokao became the last straw that broke the camel's back. For this exam, Kai burned the midnight oil and studied relentlessly, practically wearing out his textbooks. Rita went even further, praying to gods and Buddhas every day, begging her jade pendant for divine protection. 2. On exam day, Kai's admission ticket mysteriously vanished. The family turned the house upside down, only to find the ticket shredded by hens in the chicken coop. He missed the first exam, which was Chinese. During the afternoon math exam, he hadn't even finished half when the power suddenly went out in the test center. By the time the power came back on, the exam was already over. Kai broke down right there in the exam hall and burst into tears. As for me, I maintained my position as the top student in our grade. When the results came out, Garrick and Rita completely lost it. They burst into my house, and Rita grabbed my hair like a madwoman. "Vivian, you jinx. What did you do to our Kai?" Garrick, with bloodshot eyes, pointed at my dad and yelled, "Ken, control your daughter. She gave that jade pendant to Kai. What are you people plotting?" My mom May wasn't one to back down either. She immediately charged at Rita and started brawling with her. "Rita, that's bullshit. You're the ones who got greedy. The jade pendant was meant for our Vivian, but you just had to snatch it. And now you're blaming us when things went south." The yard descended into pure chaos, absolute bedlam. My dad and uncle were grappling with each other, while my mom and aunt were yanking each other's hair. I watched it all unfold with cold detachment. Standing off to the side, Kai stood behind his parents, his face deathly pale as he glared at me with venomous eyes. He seemed to have realized something too, reaching up to tear the jade pendant off. But the red cord seemed to have fused with his flesh. No matter how hard he pulled, it wouldn't budge. Red marks from the cord were already forming around his neck, yet the pendant remained firmly pressed against his chest. "Take it off, get it off now," he screamed at me, his voice thick with terror. I shook my head slowly, a cold smile playing on my lips. "Too late, the jade pendant has chosen its master." I enunciated each word with deliberate clarity. "Once it's on, it can never be taken off." The word struck like a thunderbolt, freezing Garrick and Rita in their tracks. They stopped struggling and stared at me in disbelief, then at the eerie jade pendant around Kai's neck. Rita's lips trembled, her voice cracking with emotion. You're lying. This is clearly a good luck charm." "Oh, really?" I let out a light laugh and retorted, "Then why has my cousin been having nothing but bad luck ever since he started wearing it? And look at me, ever since I lost that jade pendant, my luck has only gotten better." My words cast a dead silence over everyone in the room. Even my parents froze, staring at me with a mix of shock and uncertainty. Yes, all of this is just too abnormal. Garrick's face turned from red to pale, then from pale to ashen. He stared at me intently, as if trying to read something from my expression. What exactly do you know? Of course I wouldn't tell them the truth. I simply lowered my gaze, putting on an innocent and frightened expression. I don't know either. I just feel like this jade pendant might be incompatible with my cousin's birth chart. This explanation clearly didn't convince Garrick and Rita, but they couldn't find any evidence to refute it either. In the end, the whole farce concluded with both families parting on bad terms. From that day on, my uncle and aunt looked at me as if I were some kind of monster. They started trying every possible method to remove the jade pendant from Kai's neck. They called a locksmith, used scissors, and even brought out a small hacksaw. Yet that seemingly ordinary red cord was unbelievably tough. No matter what we tried, it just wouldn't snap. Kai's neck was rubbed raw and bloody, but the jade pendant remained completely unscathed. In desperation, Rita turned to divine intervention and sought out the most renowned shaman from all the surrounding villages. The shaman set up an altar in our courtyard, performed rituals for hours, and finally grabbed a handful of incense ashes, declaring to Rita with grave seriousness, "Your son's luck has been drained by this jade pendant, all of it transferred to his sworn nemesis." Who is the Bane?" Rita asked urgently. The shaman's eyes swept across the courtyard, and finally, her bony finger pointed straight at me. "It's her." In an instant, all eyes were fixed on me. Rita's eyes turned venomous. With a piercing shriek, she lunged at me like a rabid lioness. "I'll kill you, you little bitch. Give my son's good fortune back." My parents were startled and quickly shielded me behind them. My father roared, "Rita, have you lost your mind? You're actually buying into that superstitious nonsense." "I believe it, of course I believe it," Rita screamed, her hair disheveled as she pointed a trembling finger at me. "Ever since she gave that jade pendant to Kai, he hasn't had a single good day. And look at her, her grades keep getting better. She's definitely behind this. She's stolen my son's luck." The sorceress added fuel to the fire. "Exactly. If you want your son to get better, there's only one way. Make this jinx return the luck she stole." Garrick's eyes turned bloodshot. He stared at me, his voice, "How do we get it back?" The sorceress let out a sinister chuckle. "A bowl of heart's blood, that's all it takes." My parents' faces instantly turned deathly pale. I sneered inwardly. This was the same trick Kai had pulled in my past life, only back then the one whose heart's blood they wanted to take was my 1-month-old child. Preposterous. My father trembled with rage. "This is nothing short of murder for profit. I'm calling the police." "Call the police," Garrick sneered. "Go ahead, let's see who the cops will believe. You, or our entire village." Before anyone noticed, the yard was surrounded by villagers eager to watch the drama unfold. People pointed at our family and whispered among themselves. In this remote, backward village, superstitious beliefs ran deep. To them, the shaman's words were gospel truth. Seeing this, Rita immediately threw herself on the ground in a fit of hysterics. "Someone please talk some sense into them. The Lin family's eldest daughter has stolen my son's luck. Now she's trying to drive our whole family to ruin. There's no justice in this world." The villagers' murmurs grew louder. "Look how nervous Vivian's parents are. There might be some truth to it." "Well, there's no smoke without fire." Poor Garrick family, with Kai being their only heir. My parents' faces grew increasingly grim as they were cornered by the villagers' pointing fingers. Garrick and Rita exchanged a glance, a flicker of triumph in their eyes. Garrick closed in on me step by step, his eyes blazing with menace. "Vivian, today you will give your blood, whether you want to or not." Behind him, several burly men who were close to my uncle's family closed in, their eyes fixed on me like predators. My parents shielded me tightly behind them, their voices trembling. "Don't you dare. This is against the law." "The law?" Garrick sneered. "Here, I am the law." They were about to make their move. I took a deep breath, knowing I couldn't stay silent any longer. I stepped out from behind my parents, calmly scanning everyone present before my gaze settled on Kai's pale face. "Uncle, Aunt, do you really think a bowl of blood can save him?" My voice was soft, yet it carried clearly to every ear in the room. The courtyard fell silent in an instant. I walked slowly up to Kai, reached out, and gently touched the smooth jade pendant resting on his chest. "Did you know, what Grandma gave me was never a lucky charm, to begin with?" I lifted my gaze and spoke with deliberate emphasis. "It's called the fortune transfer jade pendant, fortune transfer jade pendant." Those 4 words detonated like a bomb amidst the crowd. Everyone was stunned, including my fierce-looking uncle and aunt. Rita was the first to snap out of it. She retorted sharply, "That's nonsense. The old lady said it herself. This is the good luck pendant. Grandma did say that." I nodded, then shifted the tone. "But she never told you where this so-called good luck comes from." My gaze swept over Kai, then his greedy parents, and finally settled on my own parents, who looked just as shocked. "This jade pendant will transfer all your fortune to the person you envy and resent the most. At the same time, it will swap their fortune with yours, exactly as it is." I paused, looking at Kai's deathly pale face, and asked softly, "Cousin, tell me, who is the person you envy the most?" Kai trembled violently, unable to utter a single word, yet his gaze remained fixed intently on me. "The answer is self-evident." Rita and Garrick's faces instantly turned paler than a corpse. "No, impossible," Rita murmured to herself. I let out a cold laugh and continued, "In my dream of a past life, this jade was worn by me. I envied how you outperformed me in studies, how our aunt and uncle doted on you, saving all the delicacies just for you. So I channeled all my misfortune onto you, while your good fortune flowed to me. I got into elite schools and soared up the ladder. You failed the high school entrance exam, flunked the college entrance exam, and ended up committing robbery for petty cash, killing someone by accident, landing you a death sentence." My voice remained calm, yet each word sliced through Kai's family's nerves like razor blades. I was revealing the truth from our past life, a truth I'd twisted beyond recognition. But that's not what matters. What matters is, they bought it. "So," I said to Kai, my smile widening, "this time around, you're the one wearing it. You were jealous of me, you resented me, so all your good fortune went to me, and all the resentment and bad luck I'd accumulated has now been transferred to you. You're the one who personally traded your own blessings for a curse." It was as if something snapped in Kai's mind. His eyes rolled back, and he fell straight backward, rigid. "Kai!" Rita screamed as she rushed toward him. The courtyard fell dead silent, with all the villagers staring at us as if we were monsters. Seeing things take a bad turn, the witch had already slipped away unnoticed. Garrick stood frozen in place, the color draining from his face as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. He stared at me, lips trembling, eyes brimming with terror and remorse. You're a monster." "I am no monster. I merely reclaimed what was rightfully mine, and you," my gaze turned icy, "have paid the price for your greed and foolishness." Kai has lost his mind. After waking up, he would alternate between sobbing and hysterical laughter, incessantly muttering about swapping fates and retribution. Rita took him to every doctor she could find, but they all said the same thing. He'd suffered a severe shock and had a complete mental breakdown. The once golden boy who had the world at his feet was now reduced to a babbling fool who grinned vacantly at anyone he saw. Garrick's hair turned white overnight, and he was completely broken. Their world came crashing down. Meanwhile, I successfully took the college entrance exam and, with the top score in the city, got into the best university in the country. The day I received the admission letter, my parents hugged me and cried like children. "Vivian, your mother and I have failed you." My father Ken, a man nearing 50, wept with tears streaming down his weathered face. "We were so foolish back then." My mother May held me close, her voice choked with sobs. "My dear daughter, you've endured so much hardship." I gently patted their backs, my heart swelling with complex emotions. I could see the genuine remorse in their hearts. In my past life, they did love me, but that love paled in comparison to the family pressures and their deep-seated preference for sons over daughters. It was my desperate counterattack that opened their eyes to my uncle's true nature, and finally made them give me all their love, unreservedly. Our family became truly inseparable at last. The villagers, however, kept me at a respectful distance. The legend of the fortune-swapping jade pendant spread like wildfire through every village and hamlet, with each retelling more embellished than the last. The way they looked at me was filled with both awe and dread. No one dared to gossip at my doorstep anymore. As for the Garrick family, they became the laughingstock of the entire village. Rita spent her days in tears, caring for her deranged son, all her former arrogance completely gone. Garrick was like a walking corpse, drowning his sorrows in drink all day long. One time, I ran into him at the village entrance. He was dead drunk, and when he saw me, a flicker of hatred flashed in his bleary eyes, but it was mostly fear. He staggered, trying to skirt around me, but I called out to stop him. He froze in his tracks, not daring to turn around. I walked up to him, looked at his haggard and defeated face, and said softly, "Actually, the jade pendant Grandma gave me was never any kind of luck exchange talisman." Garrick suddenly lifted his head, staring at me in disbelief, for, I chuckled and continued, "It's just an ordinary piece of jade. The so-called luck exchange was nothing but a story I made up to scare you." "What?" Garrick's voice trembled. "Kai ended up like this not because of the jade pendant, but because of himself." My voice turned cold. "He's narrow-minded, consumed by jealousy, and emotionally fragile." His repeated failures, combined with my words, completely shattered his spirit. "This is what you call reaping what you sow." As for why I did well on the exam, I raised an eyebrow. "It's probably because without your family's constant harassment, I could finally focus on my studies." With that, I turned away without another glance at his contorted expression. I was determined to make him face this truth. I wanted him to understand that what destroyed his son and their family wasn't some elusive misfortune, but their own insatiable greed. I wanted him to spend the rest of his life drowning in regret and self-doubt. This cuts deeper than any revenge ever could. My 4 years in university were peaceful and fulfilling. I won every scholarship available and became my professor's star pupil. With the money I sent home, my parents made a down payment in the city and opened a small breakfast diner. Business is booming, and life keeps looking brighter. Our family has completely broken free from that suffocating village. Occasionally, we'd hear some news from our hometown. We heard Garrick's health deteriorated due to his heavy drinking, and he passed away within a few years. Rita was left alone to care for her mentally ill son, living a life of utter misery. One day, she somehow found out where I lived and showed up at my door. She knelt outside the breakfast shop, begging me to save Kai. She said she'd do anything, be my slave even, if only I could make Kai normal again. My mom threw a pot of dirty dishwater right at her and let her have it, screaming her head off. "So now you come begging? Where was this remorse when you wanted to cut out my daughter's heart? Get out of here, and don't you dare show your face around us ever again." Rita was driven away, wailing and lamenting at the top of her lungs. I stepped out of the shop and watched her dejected figure retreat into the distance, feeling completely unmoved. Pity often masks the contemptible. I will never feel sorry for her, not ever. After graduation, I landed a position at a top-tier research institute where my exceptional skills quickly helped me establish myself. I thought the nightmares from my past life had finally faded away for good. That was until the day I received a call from an unknown number. On the other end was a man's voice, hoarse and chilling. "Sis, it's been a while." My blood ran cold in an instant. I'd recognize that voice anywhere. It was Kai. "I'm not crazy, sis. I never was." Kai's voice dripped with venom through the phone, letting out a chilling laugh. "I was just waiting for the perfect moment to make you taste despair." My heart plummeted. "What I mean is," Kai's voice seethed with manic hatred, "everything you hold dear is about to vanish. Did you really think you'd won, Vivian? You destroyed me. Now you'll spend the rest of your life paying for it." My hand gripping the phone had gone ice cold. I thought he'd lost his mind, that he was no longer a threat. I had underestimated the sheer force of his hatred, and his skill at deception. What could he possibly have been scheming all these years, playing the fool? I immediately called home to warn my parents to be careful, but the call just wouldn't go through. A sense of foreboding instantly washed over me. I rushed home like a madman while calling the police. When I rushed to our family's small restaurant in that old residential area, all I found was chaos and police tape cordoning off the scene. Several police officers were conducting an investigation at the scene. "Officers, where are my parents?" I dashed over, my voice trembling. An older officer glanced at me and sighed. "You must be Vivian, the homeowner's daughter. Your parents, they've been kidnapped." My mind went blank with a sudden buzzing in my head. "The kidnappers left this," the officer said, handing me an envelope. With trembling hands, I opened it to find a note inside, scrawled in Kai's familiar, distorted handwriting. "If you want your parents to live, come alone to the abandoned brick factory west of the village, or you can start digging their graves. The abandoned brick factory again. In my past life, this was where he detonated the gas tank, taking my parents with him. History was repeating itself, just with a different script. My knuckles turned white from the death grip I had on the note. The officer looked at me and said gravely, "Miss Vivian, you must not go alone. It's far too dangerous. We will immediately deploy a rescue operation." I knew that Kai had lost his mind. The fact that he dared to do this meant he was prepared to die. If the police show up, it'll only provoke him and put my parents in even greater danger. Officers, I looked up and met his gaze. Please trust me, I know how to handle him. Just set up a perimeter around the brickyard. Don't come in until I give the signal. With that, I turned and took something off from around my neck. That's not a jade pendant, it's a small piece knot. My mother got it for me from the temple the year I started college. It's not worth much, but I've always kept it with me. I took a deep breath and dialed Kai's number. "I'll do as you ask, I'll come alone. But first, I need to hear my parents' voices." After a few seconds of silence, my mother's terrified scream came through the phone. "Vivian, don't come, he's insane, run." Then came my father's furious roar. "Kai, you bastard, come at me if you've got the guts, leave my daughter alone." Hear that? Kai's voice echoed again with a sickening triumph. "I'm waiting for you at the brickyard, dear sister. Remember, you only have 1 hour." The abandoned brickyard was steeped in the scent of dust and decay. Alone, I stepped into this nightmarish place that had once buried everything I held dear. In the center of the brick factory, my parents were tied to 2 posts, cloth stuffed in their mouths, staring at me with terror-filled eyes as they shook their heads frantically. Kai stood right beside them, a lighter in his hand and a rusted gas canister at his feet. He was gaunt to the point of being unrecognizable, with sunken eyes that burned with a deranged fire. Against his chest, that mutton-fat white jade pendant still emitted its gentle, milky glow. When he saw me, he grinned, revealing a set of teeth stained yellow from smoking. "You're here, sis." I glared at him coldly. "Let my parents go, let them go." Kai burst into laughter, the sound echoing sharply through the empty brick factory. "Vivian, are you really that naive? I never intended to let any of you leave here alive when I called you today." With a sharp click, he lit the lighter in his hand. The orange flame danced before his eyes, casting flickering shadows across his contorted face. "I'm going to make you watch with your own eyes how the person you care about most dies right in front of you. I'll make you taste the bitterness of losing everything." My parents struggled with muffled sobs, tears streaming down their faces. As I stared at Kai's frenzied expression, an unexpected calm settled within me. "Kai, do you truly believe you can win today? After all this, you're still playing tough?" Kai roared. "Did you think I wouldn't notice you called the police? It's pointless, I'll take you all down with me long before they break in." I wasn't counting on the police. I shook my head and slowly moved closer to him. "Before you make your move, there's just one secret I want to share with you." My composure seemed to catch Kai by surprise. He narrowed his eyes, watching me warily. "What secret?" I walked until I was just 3 steps away from him, then stopped. I looked at him and said, enunciating each word clearly, "The real secret about that jade pendant. In my past life, after Grandma gave me the jade pendant, she also gave me a letter. The letter says this jade pendant was never a fortune exchange pendant at all." Kai's pupils contracted sharply, the corners of my lips curled into an eerie smile. "Its true purpose is sacrifice. Whoever wears it becomes an offering. All their life force, destiny, and blessings will be sacrificed to the blood descendants of the jade pendant's original owner." "Kai, do you know who among our Lin family are the descendants of that original owner?" I didn't wait for his answer and continued speaking on my own. "It's our great-grandmother, the one said to have lived to 108 and passed away peacefully without illness. And I pointed at myself, am the only one in the Lin family's lineage, across generations, who shares the exact same blood type as our great-grandmother." 5. "So, this jade pendant was meant for me from the very beginning. By wearing it, you're essentially sacrificing everything you have to me. Your luck, your health, your sanity, even your lifespan, will all gradually transfer to me, and you'll only wither faster, decay, and turn to dust in the end." "No." Kai's face turned deathly pale. He shook his head frantically. "You're lying, you're deceiving me." "Deceiving you?" I let out a cold laugh. "Then take a good look at yourself now, and then look at me." Did you really think that by playing the fool, you could escape all this? Did you honestly believe your petty revenge today could even scratch me? Kai, from the moment you put on that jade pendant, you were destined to lose. You're nothing but fuel for my growth. My words struck like a sledgehammer, shattering the last shred of Kai's mental defenses. His gaze shifted between my radiant face and his own emaciated frame, dropping his head in defeat. A terrifying thought took shape in his mind. He let out an inhuman shriek, frantically clawing at the jade pendant around his neck. Finally, he understood why the pendant couldn't be removed. Because it was never an inanimate object to begin with, it's a living curse that feeds on life force. Give it back, give me back my life, he snarled, lunging at me. The moment he lunged, I swiftly dodged to the side. At the same time, I shouted the signal. Multiple beams from high-powered flashlights instantly shot out from all directions, illuminating the entire brick factory as bright as day. Freeze, police, the police officers, who had been lying in ambush all around, swarmed in. Kai was so stunned by this sudden turn of events that he froze on the spot. The lighter slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. I rushed over and untied the ropes binding my parents. Mom, Dad, the three of us clung to each other, weeping uncontrollably. Kai was pinned to the ground by the police, still thrashing wildly and cursing non-stop. Vivian, you liar, you deceived me. I walked over to him and looked down at him from above. I did deceive you, I whispered. There was never any sacrifice, nor any bloodline descendants. That letter was also my fabrication. Kai's eyes snapped wide open, bloodshot veins spreading across them. That jade pendant was truly just an ordinary piece of jade. The so-called fate exchange was the first lie I crafted to shatter you, and the so-called sacrifice was the second falsehood I invented to drive you completely mad. Kai, from beginning to end, you were your own undoing, your jealousy, your greed, your foolishness, your resentment. It was you who drove yourself step by step into a corner, in your past life, and in this one too. With that, I turned away from his despair-twisted face, and supporting my parents, walked step by step out of this nightmare that had trapped me for 2 lifetimes. The brick factory behind me was ablaze with lights, yet the road ahead stretched clear and smooth. Kai received a life sentence for combined charges including kidnapping and attempted murder. Upon hearing the news, Rita completely lost her mind and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. Boom. Ultimately, whether it's good fortune, misfortune, or your own destiny, it all rests in your hands. Story 2. In my previous life, I won 10 million yuan in the lottery. I told my boyfriend about it. He borrowed 2 million yuan from me to buy a car. With the remaining money, I used 4 million yuan to buy a finely decorated house. I gave the rest to my parents. Half a month later, the end of the world came. However, he, together with his so-called good brothers, ran to my house and threw me downstairs. Unexpectedly, God gave me a chance to do it all over again. This time, I must protect myself and my parents well. 1. I was thrown down from building 20 by Xander and Cora together. I watched as the zombies that came following the sound gradually devoured me bit by bit. I watched myself being eaten little by little, and my soul flew to building 20. My parents were awakened by my cries, but they were knocked to the ground by Xander. He fed my parents sleeping pills and then threw them into the group of zombies as well. Cora leaned in Xander's arms, and her voice was affected. Xander, I'm so scared. You have to protect me. Xander hugged her and smiled. There's enough food here to last us 2 or 3 years. Baby, you don't need to be afraid. My eyes were filled with anger, but I was powerless, watching the two of them doing improper things. I felt it was extremely ridiculous. If I had another chance, I would never let the two of them go. Suddenly, there was a strong light, and I returned to my body. Everything was going backward. Looking at the lottery ticket in my hand, could it be that I was reborn? I tightly clenched the lottery ticket in my hand, and the corners of my lips curled into a smile. This time, I'm going to take back everything I lost. I bought a doll costume before going to exchange the lottery ticket. When I saw the real money in the bank card, I was sure that I was truly reborn. I calculated that there were still 15 days and 10 hours left. I quickly called my parents. After meeting my parents, I first told them about the zombies. My parents didn't believe it at first. Later, I told them that I was thrown downstairs and died a miserable death in the apocalypse. I didn't tell my parents about their own ending. I thought it was better that only I knew such a tragic truth. Although they still didn't quite believe me, they were willing to listen to me. Child, what do your parents need to do? My father asked me, looking at me. Mom, Dad, I just went to claim the lottery prize. 10 million yuan. I took out the bank card and showed it to my parents. My parents looked at the bank card with some confusion. Child, you're not lying to us, are you? My mother said, looking at me. Then she turned to my father and said, could this child have a fever? As she spoke, she put her hand on my forehead. I don't. What I'm saying is true. As I spoke, I showed my parents the arrival notice message on my phone. Mom and Dad, let's buy a house first. The safety factor of this house isn't high enough. As I spoke, I started pulling my parents outside. In my previous life, our family didn't have a good ending because of those two scumbags. This time around, I want to protect our family well. In my previous life, the house I bought, it had a very high safety factor, was on a high floor, and everything was so perfect. I pulled my parents to the familiar real estate sales office and met the familiar real estate agent. I became happier and happier in my heart. The real estate agent was very nervous. She was an intern girl and was quite honest. When introducing the house, she also mentioned some of the house's disadvantages, so she still hadn't sold a single house until now. My parents looked at each other and waited for my reply. Looking at the familiar real estate agent, I said, I want the 23rd floor of this building. Miss, you really know how to choose. This house has one elevator for one household and is a total of 200 square meters, but this house does have a disadvantage. When it was being constructed, the emergency exit was more than half narrower than normal. That is, you have to go out sideways because the size of the house was enlarged at that time. Since it's the top floor, the design was intended to be better at that time. This was a finely decorated house at that time, and because of this problem, it hadn't been sold until now. If you buy it, you can move in directly. As she spoke, she pulled us inside. Look, the latest shopping mall is being built nearby. Although it's not in the city center now, the subway can't reach it directly either. According to the grapevine, there should be a subway route within the next 5 years, but there are buses, and it's very convenient for you, uncle and auntie, to go to other places. As she spoke, she pointed to the bus stop above. Okay. I'll take this one. I'll go pay. Without hesitation, I was about to go and pay. She smiled happily, but still patiently asked me, don't you need to inspect the place on the spot? No need. I took out my bank card. I'll buy it now. After swiping the card and handling everything, I took my parents to have a luxurious buffet, enjoying the last big meal in a short time before the zombies arrived. After eating, I hired a moving company. I directly had the necessary things at home taken away. Taking the elevator, I let the moving company finish moving the things. My parents started packing up the house. I rented a van for 15 days to purchase things. Since our family had just moved in, buying more things wouldn't arouse the suspicion of the community residents. My father used to be a construction worker, had a driver's license, and could drive this kind of van. Since my father used to be a construction worker, he first took my mother and me to buy soundproof floor mats and soundproof wall stickers. We went to the place selling glass, selected bulletproof glass, and found workers to come and install it tomorrow. We chose good doors and bought them as well, and they would be installed tomorrow. We bought 10 solar panels, and they would all be delivered to our home tomorrow. After writing down the address, we went to the electrical appliance store, thinking that when the end of the world comes, the lack of water, electricity, and food will become life's difficulties. Our family stepped up the speed of stockpiling goods. We bought a large double-door refrigerator, and it would also be delivered to our home. We changed to another electrical appliance store and chose to have the goods delivered to our home the day after tomorrow. Next, our family went to the vegetable market. Our family used to live in the countryside. In the past 2 years, because I had a good job in the city, so I rented a nice house for our family. I let my parents also enjoy the convenient life in the city. When we arrived at the vegetable market, our family started buying things separately. We scattered and would meet up later. I bought 100 packs each of dried fruits and dried vegetables. I bought 20 kilograms each of dried tremella mushrooms, black fungus, and kelp. I also bought 20 kilograms of small dried shrimps. My father bought 50 kilograms each of vermicelli and dried noodles. He bought vegetable seeds, 10 packs of various vegetable seeds. My mother bought 20 large bottles of sesame oil, 10 barrels each of soy sauce, vinegar, and cooking oil. She bought 50 bags of flour, 50 bags of cornmeal, 100 bags of rice, and 50 bags of millet. At that time, when our family was in the village, there was a large piece of land in the yard specifically for growing vegetables. At that time, we could really eat all kinds of vegetables at home. Later, when we came to the city, we could still grow garlic sprouts and chives by ourselves, but we had never grown winter melons, pumpkins, or kashaw. We bought various seasonings. Later, the Lao Gan Ma chili sauce might expire, but the chili oil definitely wouldn't, because you can make it yourself, putting chili oil on soaked black fungus, adding some vinegar, salt, and onions is really delicious. So we bought a lot of vegetables like potatoes and garlic, in order not to arouse suspicion. These are the total quantities we bought from different vegetable markets. Surely, the van couldn't finish transporting them in one trip. My father and I took turns driving to send them back, and we brought everything home one trip after another. Although we were very tired, we felt at ease when we thought that we could avoid the zombies later. After all, these things would be very precious for our meals later, after putting these things at home. We got in the car and discussed that after the freezer arrived, we would buy things like meat again. Next, our family went to a large supermarket. We bought 20 large packs each of melon seeds and peanuts, and 50 kilograms of compressed biscuits. Anyway, there was still a long time, so we just bought these things first. After getting home, my parents and I cleared out a guest room and started storing these supplies. I started buying things for tomorrow on Matewan Optimal. I didn't buy a lot, just the normal amounts. The next day, the decoration workers came to serve in the afternoon. My father stayed at home to supervise the work, and in the morning, I drove the van and took my mother to continue shopping. First, we went to the supermarket and bought 20 cases of wine so that my father could have a little drink. We also bought 10 cases of beer. We also bought 20 cases of 8 treasure porridge and 30 cases of pure milk, after sending them home. Then, we drove about 10 kilometers, changed to a large shopping mall, and continued to purchase things. I pushed the cart. First, my mother and I went to the clothing area. We bought 10 sets of underwear for each person, 10 down jackets for each person, 10 sets of thermal underwear and thermal pants for each person, and 10 new outfits for each person. Then we went to the shoe area and bought 5 pairs of cotton slippers and ordinary slippers for each person. It's autumn now, and there might be some abnormal environments later. Then we bought 10 sets of bedding and 10 quilts, just in case. These were all bought together from different large supermarkets because we were really afraid of arousing others' suspicion. After all, when danger comes, the most dangerous things are not just disasters. Human nature may be even more dangerous. My mother and I decided to go back and take an inventory in the evening, and then see what else to buy. We still filled the car and sent 1 carload back. My father helped us carry the things at home and finished moving them before the decoration workers came. Then, my mother and I went to a store specializing in selling fitness equipment and bought a silent treadmill. After all, in the apocalypse, maintaining physical strength can help people live better. In the apocalypse, if we can't deal with the zombies, at least we can avoid some attacks. Moreover, in the apocalypse, it's not just the zombies. Every neighbor around us can be a source of danger. In total, we bought 10 yoga mats, 10 langya rods, 10 iron rods, 10 slingshots, and 5,000 marbles. Then my mother and I went to the electrical appliance mall and bought various pots. In addition, we also bought 10 robot vacuum cleaners and 5 monitoring devices. The monitoring devices would be installed by the staff in the afternoon. After buying these things, my mother and I went to buy lunch. After getting home, we carried the things together with my father. For these fitness equipment, my mother and I also needed a large box. After having lunch and taking a short rest, my mother and I went to the vegetable market again and bought 50 kilograms of soybeans and 10 packs of each kind of vegetable seeds. After buying and loading them into the car, just as I fastened my seatbelt, my phone suddenly vibrated, and the familiar ringtone sounded again. Baby, is your salary for this month going to be paid soon? Hearing this voice that made me feel disgusted and scared, calling me baby, now, I really think I was a fool before. Xander, I've already resigned. I won't get this week's salary, I said. pretending to be sad. My mother was shocked when she saw this scene. Then, she silently watched me act. No, why did you resign? If you resign, where will I get money from in the future? It's said that when people are angry, they speak without thinking. I just said that I resigned. And he got anxious right away. Goodness, it turns out he's been eyeing my salary all along. No, baby. I mean, if you resign, how are we going to plan for our marriage in the future? He realized his slip of the tongue and quickly corrected himself. Okay, then I'll send out a few more resumes tomorrow. You should work hard too, I said, suppressing my nausea. Then can you transfer me some of your salary? I have no money now. He said to me confidently, Xander, I really have no money now. I'll give you money when I find a job and get my salary. I pretended to be wronged. Baby, don't you have any money at all? I really have. I pretended that the signal was bad and hung up the phone. My mother looked at me and didn't say anything. My mother didn't understand why I was still dealing with him. Mom, although I really want to break up with him directly now, we haven't finished moving yet, and we can't let him disrupt our plan, I said to my mother and started the car. My mother nodded. My mother and I continued to shop because my father just called and said that the masters were still installing things. My father also asked the maintenance master to install anti-theft nets, although the top floor seems very safe now, but we can't avoid the possibility that some people might do something. Looking at my phone, I thought of going to update the devices of myself and my parents. My mother and I went to a mobile phone store and bought 6 mobile phones, 6 tablets, 6 computers, and 3 drones. Although there might be no network in the apocalypse, at least we need a way to keep an eye on the news. My father sent us a message saying that the installation was done. 2 cameras were installed in the corridor outside the house to avoid blind spots, and 2 more were installed on the stairs. In the evening, we went out again and bought a total of 100 boxes of self-heating hot pot, 100 boxes of self-heating rice. We bought 30 cases of instant eggs, 30 packs of mineral water, 30 anti-freeze survival blankets, and 30 super large capacity power banks. We bought 6 sets of complete first aid kits and 10 telescopes. We bought 50 packs of garbage bags, 30 boxes of toothbrushes, 200 boxes of toothpaste, and 30 boxes of soap. We bought 30 bottles of hand sanitizer, 100 kilograms of laundry detergent, and 10 electric blankets. After carrying the things home, my parents and I first started organizing the supplies. My mother said that we would buy some things for hydroponics tomorrow. She also planned to buy 30 bottles of fruit canned food and 30 boxes of chicken canned food. I applied for a Sam's Club VIP membership that night. I had always wanted to apply for it before, but I never had the time to take my parents to Sam's Club. Then I had a good sleep. The next day, we bought a lot of things according to the plan. Now the guest room was already full, and my room also had a lot of things. The living room was still being prepared. After moving the things back at noon, our family thought about going out for a meal. We went to a square and found a barbecue buffet. Unexpectedly, we were so unlucky that we met Xander and the others. We met them before we even went in, and immediately our appetite decreased by half. Xander had met my parents before when he was with me, so my parents knew him, and they weren't very happy either, but we ignored him, after all. This was the last meal before the zombies came. That scumbag didn't deserve to affect our appetite and mood. Baby, are you also here to have this barbecue buffet? Xander pointed at the self-service barbecue restaurant and said to me. I ignored him. Seeing this, he moved closer to me. Let's have it together. Xander looked at us and said, hello, uncle and auntie. We sat close to each other, but we were at table 9 and they were at table 10, baby. I just paid the rent for the house I share with Cora recently, so could you please pay for our meal? You know, we rent the house together as 2 people and need more money. Xander sent me a text message. I rolled my eyes where he couldn't see, but I didn't plan to have a showdown with him for now. I smiled at him and replied, sure, when it's time to pay, I'll pay after my parents leave. I always have to leave a good impression of you in front of them. Hearing what I said, Xander didn't suspect anything. I sent a message to my parents on my phone asking them to leave first. After eating for a while, my father pretended to receive a call from a friend and said he was going to catch up with an old friend with my mother. Looking at the backs of my parents as they left, the corners of my lips curled into a smile. Xander, I'll charge you some interest first. I'll take my revenge for what happened in my last life slowly. After I was full, I signaled to Xander that I was going to pay the bill. The cashier's desk was on the second floor. The two of them were not about me and kept their eyes on my back. I walked up to the cashier and said to the waiter, "It's 457 yuan for the 3 people at table 9. You can scan me." After the waiter scanned the code, I asked her for 2 receipts. After going up to the second floor, I waved the receipts in front of the two of them and then put an empty wallet on top of them. "Xander, I'm going to the restroom. I'll leave my wallet and the payment receipt here for a while." Xander wouldn't be so stupid as to touch my things before I left. By the time he realized something was wrong, he wouldn't be able to find me anymore. I had already hailed a taxi when I was paying. After going downstairs, I left directly, in the taxi. I blocked all of Xander's contact information. After getting off the taxi, I met up with my parents in a high-end shopping mall. I bought 2 pairs of sports shoes for each of my parents and myself. We bought a water dispenser and also bought some water, which would be delivered to our home in the afternoon. Wow, there's so much already. Looking at the many supplies in the guest room, I was really very happy. My father first went to install the water dispenser and put the old water dispenser in the guest room. I climbed the stairs to the rooftop. Seeing so many solar panels, I knew that they could supply electricity when the zombies came. The ringtone of my phone rang. I knew it was the water delivery man. I quickly took the elevator to meet them. "Master, you can just put the water outside. Thank you for your hard work. We bought it this time just for the discount." I pointed outside the elevator and said to the master. The master smiled honestly and said, "Well, many people put it like this now." The master and I carried the water together, and we finished moving it quickly. I gave the master some food and let him go. After seeing the master off, my parents and I moved the water to the vacant room together. "I'm so tired." I lay on the sofa and said, "Mom and Dad, do you want to drink a beverage?" As I spoke, I stood up again to get my favorite carbonated drink. "I don't drink that stuff. You should also drink less of it. It won't help you grow taller." My father looked at me and said, "How old am I?" "I've already stopped growing." After I finished speaking, I opened the Coke and took a sip. My parents smiled. That's true. The moment I drank the Coke, I felt like I was going to heaven. But thinking that just drinking Coke was a bit of a hardship for myself, I quickly opened the food delivery app. After exercising for so long, I still needed to eat something more. I ordered some fried chicken. "Mom and Dad, do you want to order takeout?" I waved my phone and asked my parents. "I don't eat that stuff. The food outside isn't as clean as the food at home." As my father said this, he went to the kitchen and started cooking noodles. My mother was more open-minded. "I won't order. I'll just have a little of yours later." "Old man, the child just wants to eat a little. Look at you keep saying this." My mother turned her head and said to my father, "Then I'll cook more noodles. You can have some later too." My father was helpless, but what else could he do? He had to spoil his wife and child. The ringtone of my phone rang. The takeout had arrived, and I was so happy. Is there anything more wonderful than eating fried chicken and drinking Coke at the same time? If there is, it must be eating barbecue and fried chicken at the same time. After eating the fried chicken and drinking a bowl of noodle soup, I felt really great. It was like reaching the peak of my life. My father went to wash the dishes, and I started studying the robot vacuum cleaner according to the instructions. The robot vacuum cleaner can only clean the floor for now. Maybe it can be used to attract the attention of the zombies later. My mother was tidying up the utility room. We would put the remaining supplies in the utility room later. Suddenly, my mother stopped what she was doing. "Where should we throw the garbage when the time comes?" As soon as my mother said this, my father was also stunned for a moment. "We can't throw things from a high place. This will attract the attention of not only the zombies, it will also attract the attention of some people, especially at this time. The trust between people has long collapsed." I thought for a while and then said, "Let's put it in the utility room first. If there is garbage with water in it, we'll flush it down the toilet. If it's dry, we'll throw it in the utility room. If it doesn't work out later, we'll keep thinking of a solution." My father offered his suggestion. My mother and I agreed with my father's idea. My mother continued to tidy up the things in the utility room, and I put the robot vacuum cleaner in order. I also started helping my mother move the things from the utility room out and put them in the living room. Thinking that the master would come to our home tomorrow, I quickly moved them to my room. "This window screen isn't good. We need to buy one that is absolutely light blocking. My father was measuring the size of the living room and pointed at the window screen outside and said, "I'll go and take a look tomorrow." My mother put down the things in her hand and touched the window screen. After soaking our feet together with my parents, I went to my room to play with my phone. I saw a piece of news on my phone. A man refused to pay after having a self-service barbecue with his girlfriend and even beat up the waiter. The police have intervened in the matter. Seeing this, I was in a great mood, and the corners of my mouth curved into a big smile. They have no money, the rental house they live in has a low safety factor, and they haven't prepared enough food, this time, without everything from me. Let's see if they can still have an unbreakable relationship without food and protection, with their personalities. I'm afraid they'll turn on each other. We'll just have to see which one can survive, but this isn't something I care about anymore. What I need to pay attention to is that I can protect my parents in the apocalypse. I think it's already the happiest thing for me to be able to accompany them. Thinking of this, I took out a piece of paper from my bag and wrote on it: fire extinguisher, ice pack, large water cup, projector, thickened socks, various seasonings, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, ice maker. I really haven't bought so many things before, but after all, it's the end of the world. It's better to have something than nothing. My mother started choosing curtains and bought thick black curtains that don't let light through. My father had already measured the size last night, so we bought them especially quickly today. Then we bought things according to my list. After buying these things, my mother and I set off on our way home first. After moving the things, when we went back, we happened to meet the people delivering the electrical appliances. We put the cart aside first and then pushed it into my parents' room, because there were no supplies placed in their room for the time being. Looking at the arrangement of the refrigerator and the freezer, I was very satisfied. We put the fish tank against the wall. My father and mother started tidying up the curtains together, and I started cleaning up some of the garbage left over from the recent decoration. After cleaning up, I put the supplies in my room. My parents continued to install the curtains, and I checked my phone and saw that it started reminding me of the express deliveries. I started driving the van to different express delivery pickup points to get the packages. Sure enough, the express deliveries arrived very quickly. After picking up the packages, I went to fill up the gas tank. I had already refueled several times in the past few days because I had driven such a long distance. This is a disaster for all of humanity. Without having time to make more size, I started driving to the vegetable market. I bought 50 kilograms each of beef and mutton, 30 kilograms of fish, and also bought shrimp, chickens, ducks, and shrimp paste. After getting home, my parents and I moved the things in the car inside together. We started opening the express packages. Sure enough, opening express packages is one of the happiest things in the world. When my father came back, he said, "I don't know why, but there seems to have been a big car accident on the road today. It seems to be quite serious." I was quite far away at that time, so I took a detour. My father put a large bag of fish food aside and tidied up the other things. Hearing what my father said, I was stunned. At first, people just thought it was an ordinary car accident. In my previous life, wasn't there also a big car accident? The injured person couldn't wake up, but his physical signs showed that everything was normal. The hospital's initial judgment was that he was in a vegetative state. After 2 days, suddenly that person started attacking the people around him, and later the zombie virus broke out completely. I was very shocked. I quickly asked my father if it was at the intersection on Huashi Road that was very close to the Xinhua building. My father nodded and said, "Has the news spread so quickly?" I was a bit flustered in my heart. Everything was happening so fast. I called my parents over and said to them very seriously, "Mom and Dad, it seems that everything has been brought forward. It was originally something that was going to happen in 13 days. But now it has suddenly been brought forward by 10 days, so Mom and Dad, we have to prepare quickly." Looking at me like this, there was also some panic in my parents' eyes. After all, it's a time when people are forced to rush into the era of the apocalypse. They will definitely be scared, but my parents' eyes quickly became determined. "Child, we'll live together." My mother looked at me and said firmly, looking at the determined eyes of my parents. I nodded. My parents and I started to divide the remaining tasks. I opened my phone to check the remaining express deliveries. Some of them would arrive today and some tomorrow, since we only rented one van, so my father went to another car rental company to rent a van separately. We went to buy supplies in 2 batches. When we bought the house, there was only 1 parking space, so my father and I had to go in batches. The van that my father rented could only be temporarily parked in the parking lot outside. By doing it alternately like this, buying things would be faster. After all, there was no time left. Looking at the remaining money in the card, my father and I divided it equally, and then we went our separate ways. My mother and I went to buy canned food, including some fruit canned food and meat canned food. We bought strawberry seedlings. Strawberries are easy to grow, at least for our family. Then we also bought eggplant seedlings, cucumber seedlings, string bean seedlings, and other vegetable seedlings. Seeing the continuous notifications of express delivery messages on my phone, we first went to different express delivery pickup points to get the packages. My mother went to pick up the express deliveries. I sat in the van and opened Jihu. I saw the anonymous message I had sent before. Everyone can stock up on more goods in daily life to avoid not being able to provide for themselves in case of some sudden events. Actually, not many people read it because when I browsed Jihu before, many people would say that they were from the future and that there would be a zombie outbreak, but everyone didn't believe it because there were too many people playing jokes. Although the IP address shows the province, fortunately, it doesn't show the specific address. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sent it. In a time like the apocalypse, I must ensure my own safety first. After buying the things, we went home and put them away. My mother and I opened the express packages first and found that the water cups had arrived. We first planned to fill the water cups, the water buckets, and the kettles with water. Although I didn't live to the later stage in my previous life, the water resources were still abundant when I was alive. But in this life, everything has been brought forward, and we must make preparations in advance. We'll use the water in these containers first, if the water supply is cut off. The water we bought can be left for later use. After tidying up these things, my father also came back. My father had already bought several batches of meat and put them all in the large freezer. He also bought meatballs made of starch and other things. He bought sliced black-bone chicken, shrimp paste, and also tripe. He bought more than 30 frozen hairtail fish. These can be stored in the freezer for almost a year. When we were in the village before, we wouldn't put them in the refrigerator. In winter, the weather was very cold. We would hang them on the wall and fry them to eat during the spring festival. They were very delicious. I picked up the remaining express packages. I opened the express packages and sorted the supplies according to their categories. The guest room was already full, and my bedroom was also full. We only put clothes and blankets in the living room. My mother and I went to buy 6 sets of thick quilts and put the supplies in the cabinets of my parents and me. In the evening, my father went downstairs to take a look. My mother and I pulled all the curtains closed, and they completely blocked the light. My father also bought 2 cases of milk and 3 packs of eggs. By the way, our family ordered takeout, although my father always said that takeout was unhealthy. But before the apocalypse comes, ordering takeout can save supplies, so my father also joined us. My mother and I ordered a medium-sized portion of fried chicken together. Our family also ordered a serving of Hidaleo hot pot, and my father went to pick up the takeout. After our family was full, we started tidying up the vegetable seedlings. When we bought them in the morning, we just put them aside together. Our family also bought a plant growth lamp. I hugged my parents, thinking of the tragic deaths of my parents in my previous life. I choked up and said, "Tomorrow is the last day. From today on, we can't go out anymore. If something happens and it's brought forward again, we really can't be sure. Our family has to be okay." My parents looked at each other and nodded. After tidying up, I started opening some of the packaging bags. For the scattered bags, I opened the unnecessary outer bags and disposed of the unnecessary garbage now. I hope there is still one more day, I prayed. Actually, I'm still really afraid of the apocalypse in my heart. I still remember the pain of being bitten in the doomsday. After all, you have experienced it yourself, and it still makes you feel afraid when you think about it. I downloaded my favorite TV shows and offline games with my parents. After all, we don't know when the zombie apocalypse will end, and people will get bored. I told my parents. The next day, I was woken up by the alarm at 6 o'clock. I began to fill all the empty cups and other containers in the house with water. I didn't even spare the cola bottles. I rinsed them with tap water and then filled them up. I cleaned up the garbage and took out a batch first. There would definitely be no chance to throw out the garbage later, as throwing garbage could easily expose our location. My father started installing the one-way glass film. My father used to be a decorator. He is a very capable man. My mother started installing the water purifier, just after I threw out the garbage. I saw it started to rain outside. I remembered it very clearly. It was indeed earlier than before. I quickly closed the curtains because the doomsday would start 15 minutes after it rained. Hashtag people biting in the hospital. Hashtag vegetative people biting. Hashtag some experts suggest that vegetative people biting is just because they haven't adapted to life after waking up. Hashtag such hot search topics suddenly appeared on the hot search list. Everything in the past life was repeating itself. Looking at all this, my parents were unhurried and continued to install the projector and organize other things. At this time, only I knew what was going to happen in the future among the three of us. They still thought it was something that would happen tomorrow. Mom and Dad, from now on, none of us is allowed to go out, I said to my parents, watching them stop what they were doing. Son, has it started? My mother asked, looking at me. My father also looked at me. I nodded and said, then let's quickly finish dealing with the remaining things. My father started to reinforce the door. My mother began to organize the things I had just brought back, and I continued to organize things. We finished organizing things quickly. After that, my mother started to install the plant grow lights and arranged the vegetable seedlings. The vegetable seeds were temporarily put into the cabinet of the coffee table because these vegetable seedlings were enough for the three of us to eat for the time being. There was more than enough. My father reinforced the iron door. I retrieved the surveillance footage and put it on the TV for our family to check at any time. I opened Facebook, and as expected, it was the same as in my past life, the same hot search topics and the same names. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't afraid. But seeing my parents by my side, I also felt happy and content at this moment. At least until now, I had protected my dearest ones. After everything was done, my father went to cook, and my mother went to make rice. I continued to check the news online and saw that some netizens had uploaded videos of people being bitten. A bitten person first fell to the ground and then stood up a few minutes later. With the blood still flowing from the bite wounds, he started biting the crowd. And everyone began to run away. This was a video recorded from a high place. According to my memory of the past life, the hospital was quite far from us, so there was no danger for the time being. But later, due to the lack of timely treatment, the number of zombies became more and more, and many places were overrun. I hoped that many people had seen my post and stocked up on supplies. As soon as I thought of the post, now that the event had happened, I quickly deleted it. Although it was anonymous, it was better to be careful. I opened Facebook. All the hot search topics were about this doomsday, and everyone was very afraid. It was okay when reading novels before, but now when really trapped in this world, there were all kinds of fearful and panicked feelings. After dinner, my parents and I continued to clean up. We laid a thick mat in the living room, took out 3 quilts, and our family planned to stay in the living room tonight. It had been a long time since I had stayed with my parents like this. I felt very emotional. We talked about a lot of things with my parents, from my childhood to the present. Then we all fell asleep. Maybe this was the last peaceful sleep. I dreamed of a world without zombies. Everything was so beautiful. After waking up, I opened Facebook and found that the situation of the zombies had become more serious. I steamed some buns and made a seaweed and egg soup. I had breakfast with my parents. I continued to browse Facebook to see where the zombies had spread to. Suddenly, a message popped up on my phone. Honey, I don't know what I did wrong. You blocked my contact information. Cora and I are in the rental house now. We are very afraid. Can we come to your place? Before I could reply, we have arrived. I smiled sarcastically. This person was really as shameless as ever, seeing that I didn't reply to him for such a long time. Xander couldn't wait and called me, baby. I'm at your door. I knocked on the door, but no one answered me. He said anxiously, don't you know what you did wrong, Xander? Do you really think I'm still the love-struck girl I used to be? I chuckled at Xander on the other end of the phone. I'm kind enough to give you a reminder. The zombies are coming. You and your little childhood sweetheart won't be able to escape. Enjoy the feeling of being bitten by zombies. He became angry and said, "You bitch, I treated you so well. And now you treat me like this, just you wait." After he finished speaking, I heard a loud banging on the door from the other end of the phone. The smile on my lips became even wider. "Go ahead and bang, I'm waiting," I said. I thought about my struck behavior in the past life. I felt that I was really stupid. The vitality of zombies is really strong. Don't they have any weaknesses? Hot search topics. Hashtag zombies. Hashtag what to do when encountering zombies. Hashtag it is recommended that the public stay at home silently. Hashtag I clicked in and saw the suggestions given by experts. Don't go out, temporarily stay at home and wait for rescue. I refreshed Facebook and saw the official notice. All major media immediately forwarded it. Currently, zombies have appeared in City A. According to the diagnosis of scientists, the mode of transmission is being bitten by zombies. But it is not excluded that people may be infected if zombie blood enters the human body. The infected people show signs of being bitten, and their eyes turn scarlet. Their walking behavior is different from that of normal people. They walk without consciousness and have the urge to bite living people. The relevant researchers are conducting research. Please, the general public, avoid going out for the time being and avoid contact with suspicious people. The data obtained so far shows that the bitten person will be assimilated within 10 minutes at the latest. Please believe in the government and the country. Please don't spread rumors on the internet and cause panic. Temporarily, a blockade policy has been implemented for City A. The transportation methods such as trains, high-speed rails, and airplanes from City A to other places have been cancelled. The trains or high-speed rails passing through City A have also been cancelled. It is prohibited to pass through City A in any form. Once discovered, criminal liability will be imposed. I opened a pack of spicy strips and ate while looking at the policies. I was proud of the country's prompt handling. This was the country I loved and the place where I grew up, but I remembered that in the past life, it was not only City A. Had the situation changed, or was it actually a different world? If so, I hoped that these stockpiled supplies would not be of much use. There was nothing more important than living safely. I would rather rent a house with my parents than be trapped in this house for a lifetime. A free life was the most important thing for us. An hour later, the official issued another notice. The country is building a new wall around City A. It has been temporarily blocked with iron nets and iron gates. Currently, the construction of the isolation wall is underway. People in City A, don't panic. This is only to avoid unnecessary transmission for the time being. If there are people who have come to other cities from City A in the past 7 days, please report to the local government in a timely manner. Once it is found that someone has not reported, criminal liability will also be imposed. A reward of 1,000 yuan will be given to the people who report or take the initiative to report. This is to minimize the harm. The country has started to build an isolation wall around City A and is recruiting workers with high enough salaries. Seeing this, people everywhere feel much more at ease, at least for now, except for City A. There are no such cases in other provinces and cities. Those who escaped from City A that night have been quarantined. The quarantine rooms are all stocked with instant foods such as instant noodles. Because this incident will cause harm to others, they must be placed in windowless rooms to avoid their infection and subsequent biting of other people. Someone uploaded a video, which quickly became a hot search topic. It was a video taken by a camera. A family of 3, father, mother, and a child, were originally having a meal near the hospital. They should have taken a family member to the hospital to see a doctor and then went to have a meal. Suddenly, a zombie rushed into the store and bit another man. It bit the man's carotid artery in one bite. The blood spurted directly onto the ground. Everyone in the store saw this scene and quickly ran away. The man also pulled his wife and child and ran out. But there were also zombies outside. He was about to get into the car with his wife and child when a zombie bit his arm. While he was still conscious, he closed the car door and loudly told his wife to take the child and leave. He himself became a zombie, and his wife left with tears in her eyes. The comments below the video were all moved by this man. This father is so great. But his child and wife watched him turn into a zombie with their own eyes. It's so sad, one comment said. So there are really people who can sacrifice themselves for their loved ones, another comment said. The Information Department of City A issued a notice Currently, the community screening is being carried out, and the community-wide lockdown management is being implemented. The outside of each community is being sealed with high-speed rail walls, according to the latest research. Once the zombie virus invades the human body, it cannot be recovered. Please, the general public, ensure the safety of yourself and your loved ones. Once the people around you show signs of mutation or abnormal trends, please call for help as soon as possible, and we will arrange personnel as soon as possible. Since the zombie virus cannot be eliminated once it enters the human body, the infected zombies will be killed. Scientists are conducting research on the relevant vaccines. Please, the general public, do not go out and ensure that you stay at home. Currently, the official has received the demands of the general public and will arrange the handling of food later. Please believe in us. Let's overcome this disaster together. Believe in us and believe in yourselves. We will definitely recover. City A was quickly blocked, and other cities did not give up the screening just because there were no zombies for the time being. The speed of this incident was much faster than that in the past life. I felt as if I was being pushed forward to another ending of the story, but I didn't know whether the ending of the story was good or bad. I had read so many zombie-related novels, but only when I really faced it did I know how terrifying it was. If the situation gets out of control, no matter how many supplies you have, there will be a day when they run out. Outside, the broadcast was still playing on a loop. Please, the general public, stay at home. Once there is a special situation, please report it as soon as possible, and we will send someone to deal with it nearby. Now that there was still the internet, looking at the news on TV, my parents and I had no appetite. We just drank some porridge. There were more and more zombies outside, seeing more and more people being pulled into the zombie horde. I felt as if the pain from my past life was coming back to my body. We lay on the mat laid in the living room to rest. Although it was said to be rest, we closed the full coverage blackout curtains. My parents and I all started to sigh. We were in such a situation now, which was what I got by being reborn. If I hadn't been reborn, our family would have died. I discussed with my parents about taking turns to stand guard, although there were protective devices. The current situation was still uncertain. Every decision now would affect the subsequent development. If we don't observe the situation outside at this time, we won't be able to face more unknown changes in the future. Now there are more and more zombies, and the police can only snipe from a long distance. There is still no solution to completely eliminate them. In the comments, there are people asking for help and people selling supplies at high prices. Suddenly, a hot search topic appeared. There was a stray dog biting incident in City B. The bitten person showed the same symptoms as those in City A. It seems that not only people-to-people transmission is possible, but also other organisms may be involved. Suddenly, there were a lot of videos and comments that caused panic. Many people suddenly started to spread this video, and everyone began to panic about animals and everything else. But why did this virus appear in City B? City B is not adjacent to City A. Now not only City A has started to panic, but people all over the world have started to frantically hoard supplies. In less than half a day, this situation has occurred in more than a dozen countries one after another. There must be someone manipulating this behind the scenes to cause such crazy spread. A large number of people posted comments on Facebook and Yahoo. It was tentatively determined that the cause was an ancient virus. Currently, there is no solution. The research experts from various countries are having a meeting to discuss. They are all still in the research stage. In order not to cause panic, this conclusion has not been announced. When people see these comments and the video, they will more or less have some associations. There has not been a very clear conclusion, but the experiment definitely cannot be done all of a sudden. It needs to be rigorous and responsible to every citizen, rather than simply giving a conclusion. The laboratory is still conducting experiments non-stop, comparing and changing variables and weights. Now the internet has exploded because of this. The official has issued a statement that there is currently no experimental evidence to prove this claim. It is hoped that the general public can calm down. The state of mind is very important at this time. There are quite a few marketing accounts that have been spreading rumors in the afternoon, causing panic. The official has issued warnings and blocked some of them. The video has been constantly emphasizing and reminding the general public, please avoid being bitten by other creatures, close the windows, and put pets in cages to prevent infection. Currently, everyone has gone crazy for supplies. After all, nothing is more important than surviving. There is still no solution found for this virus for the time being. If a solution can't be found, we'll have to keep struggling. If there are not enough resources, there is no choice but to wait for death. Some people who like to push the limits actually started live streaming on the road, showing everyone the situation of zombies on the road. Suddenly, Facebook crashed. There was a case of armed robbery in Country M, and this video caused another round of popularity on Facebook. Everyone is still stockpiling supplies on their own. After all, if something unexpected happens, at least they will feel more secure. Our family had mapo tofu, stir-fried Chinese cabbage with pork, stir-fried tomatoes with eggs for dinner, and rice as the staple food. I drank a glass of Coke and couldn't help sighing. This is so refreshing. At this moment, I received another call from Xander. Baby, I was wrong last time. Baby, can you send us some food? We really have nothing to eat, but I do have food. I hung up after saying that. I thought for a while and took a photo of a self-heating hot pot. I sent a message to Xander. For the sake of the fact that I once loved you, I can give you something to eat, but it's only enough for one person. Come and get it, okay? Send me the address. He replied to me quickly. I know he doesn't believe me, but now he has no other choice. I sent the location of a place nearby where there were the most zombies and where I could control the situation, taking advantage of the night. I controlled a drone and tied a mobile phone to it. I turned the alarm volume to the maximum and flew the drone to the agreed location with Xander. Looking at the increasing number of zombies outside, I knew that if they came out at this time, it would be a dead end. I knew that just a self-heating hot pot couldn't make him believe me, so I took a photo of a bag of rice. After finishing the meal and cleaning up, I opened Facebook to check the current situation. Now all parts of the world have fallen. Currently, it is found that our country is not the first case. Someone uploaded a video online where someone threw their pet from a high-rise building. This was because they were afraid that their pet had the virus. Soon everyone started to criticize this behavior. Since there is no rigorous and reasonable statement given by relevant personnel currently, everyone is definitely afraid that pets may have the virus. It's just that it's really hard to understand how someone could do that to a pet that has been by their side all the time. At the same time, someone submitted contributions to big bloggers. Some staff members, taking advantage of their positions, took away pets and tortured and killed them. Everyone was very angry and hoped that this could be dealt with, although it's not certain at present whether they can also be hosts of the virus. But they are all lives, and every life has the right to live. In my previous life, I didn't seem to see things developing in this direction. It's also possible that I died too early to see it. There are more and more disputes on the internet, and the degree of panic is also increasing. A week has passed, and the disputes on the internet have been growing exponentially. The official issued a statement. Currently, it can be determined that only blood can spread the virus, and this spread only occurs between people. The relevant department issued a statement that the relevant technicians are conducting research. Please don't make malicious speculations. Sure enough, the country has never given up on us. As a member of this country, I really feel very happy. At this moment, through the surveillance, I saw Xander driving a dilapidated car. There were a lot of bloodstains on that car. Seeing that there was no movement around, he sent me a message. I replied that I didn't see him, only the car. I told him the route, and then he got out of the car and made some gestures towards the car. The timing was just right. As soon as he walked 10 meters away, the alarm clock rang. Immediately, the zombies heard the sound and rushed towards that direction. Xander quickly got back into the car, but the car started very slowly. Thinking that in my previous life, he directly threw me into the horde of zombies, unable to move forward. He actually pushed Cora out of the passenger seat. Cora became what I was in my previous life and was bitten by the zombies. Soon he also turned into a zombie, but she seemed different from ordinary zombies. Her consciousness was very obvious. The zombies would be attracted by the vibration of the mobile phone alarm clock again, but Cora wouldn't. That mobile phone was quickly trampled to pieces by the horde of zombies. The direction Cora was heading in was very strange. It seemed that she was getting closer and closer to our home. The gate downstairs in the community had been closed for a long time, so the building we were in had never been attacked by zombies. I saw a call from Xander on my phone. I didn't answer, and he started bombarding me on Instagram. Damn it, it was you who placed the phone there. Damn it, answer the phone. Damn it, I survived. You wait, I'll get you later. But at this moment, Cora had already arrived at our community. She didn't seem to be an ordinary zombie. I had an ominous premonition that she was coming for me. After sending the drone out yesterday, I locked the rooftop from the inside. After a few minutes, I seemed to hear a strange sound. Sure enough, it was Cora. I turned on the power switch, and the protective railing was electrified. She fell heavily to the ground, and everyone's attention was drawn. Cora left the current community and moved towards the direction of our previous community. Many videos appeared on Facebook. Another family planned to leave by car, but unexpectedly, they were bitten by a zombie in the corner and turned into zombies. I saw a video on Facebook, which was from the area where our previous home was. Xander came downstairs to buy things. As soon as he opened the car door, Cora suddenly rushed out and bit Xander. Xander tried his best to dodge, but his arm was still bitten. Xander used a knife to dig out the bitten piece of meat. Xander was about to hide in the car, but Cora directly smashed the car window and bit Xander's flesh. Xander's face was almost unrecognizable after being bitten by Cora. Maybe it was because Cora used too much force to smash the car window just now, or for some other reason. The car started to leak gasoline. I don't know who threw a burning stick in that direction, and the car exploded. Xander and Cora were directly blown up in that explosion. A month has passed. We have eaten some of the food. And recently the weather has started to become abnormal. Suddenly, there was a strong light, and I returned to my body again. Everything was going backward. The situation is getting worse and worse. Recently, there are news reports that in some places, zombie tides have started to break out, causing serious damage, and more people have lost their lives. The weather is overcast. Just like what I see as my own future at this moment. It rained heavily for 3 consecutive days. The zombies not only started to harm living things but also began to attack buildings. The cables have been damaged, and electricity can't be supplied to many places. Coupled with the problems of the natural weather, the lives of many people have already started to change greatly. Looking at the supplies that are decreasing every day and the increasingly severe situation, my worries are increasing day by day. The relevant researchers expressed their opinions on the official platform. Currently, we are doing our best to build safe houses, to resist the current harsh environment, and also to remind everyone to keep a calm mind. Given time, everyone will definitely regain their freedom. It took 1.5 months to build the safe house, and the food is getting less and less. Lying in the safe house, half of my hanging heart finally settled down. Countries have discussed and decided to use the method of bombing to deal with these zombies. These bombs are made of special materials. Finally, after a long wait of 1 year, I once again set foot on the journey home. Story 2. With only 2 days left before the arrival of the zombie horde, I was simultaneously dealing with my long-term bully of a roommate and racing against time to fortify my end-of-days base. Little did I know that I was not the only one who had come back to life. Isabella, step forward, a stern voice suddenly commanded. Trembling, I moved out from the crowd to face the towering figure of the drill instructor. You've made 3 mistakes, the instructor said grimly. Run 10 laps as punishment. The rest of you, go have your meal. Laughter from a few girls echoed from behind me. With my head bowed, I started jogging, then gradually picked up speed and dashed off the track toward the dormitory. The instructor's roar followed me. What are you doing? Come back, come back. That was never going to happen in this lifetime. After all, I was someone who had already died once, back then. After running the 10 laps and missing mealtime, I returned to the dorm to be mocked by my wealthy classmates. They ridiculed everything from the woven bag I carried on my first day, to the cheap skin cream I used, and even made fun of my grandfather who collected trash. Unable to bear it, I argued back. When the teacher arrived, the girls unanimously accused me of starting the trouble. No matter how I defended myself, it was useless. The school's decision was to issue me a formal reprimand. Just 2 weeks into the school term, I felt utterly defeated. If poverty was a sin, then societal prejudice was a blade that slaughtered without mercy. As I walked out of the office with the notice, I saw our class instructor in a compromising position with the class beauty at the doorway. The instructor was deeply engrossed, and the class beauty seemed to enjoy it, tilting her head back. Their relationship seemed unusually close. Before I could decide whether to avoid them or not, The instructor looked up at me, his smile revealed blood-red teeth, clenching one of the class beauty's ears. As his grip loosened, she fell to the ground with a thud, her face a bloody, unrecognizable mess. My first thought was of a crime of passion, until the instructor lunged at another student. Something was very wrong. His eyes were blood-red, and there was a hole in his stomach as big as a fist. No living person could sustain such a wound. The other students panicked, their voices trembling. "Run, it's a zombie, the zombies are coming." As everyone fled in terror, I hid behind a pillar and saw the class beauty lying motionless on the ground suddenly twitch. The next second, she leaped up, grabbed a tall boy next to her, and started biting him fiercely. Despite his size, he was powerless under her attack. Like a little chick, after a frenzied attack, a large hole appeared in the boy's chest, and he was thrown away like a rag. Terrified, I ran all the way back to the dormitory, only to be pushed out by several of my roommates. "Why should you be allowed in? Do you even deserve it, you rural dog? Go find your trash-picking grandfather," I cried and pleaded with them. But no one would open the door. Then, the growling of zombies came from the stairwell. A grotesque zombie charged up, grinning excitedly at me and lunged forward. In that critical moment, the dorm door behind me opened and a girl fiercely pulled me inside. It was Amelia, a senior student who lived alone in a dorm room due to being ostracized for her vitiligo. We had never spoken before, but in that moment of crisis, she was the only one who saved me. Unfortunately, we soon ran out of food. After hiding for 3 days and unable to endure any longer, we ventured out together in search of food. Just as I stepped out of the dormitory building, a large group of zombies suddenly burst out from the shadows. My senior sister tried to save me at the last moment, but it was too late. Neither she nor I had any chance of escaping when the zombie horde approached. We eventually died at the hands of the zombies. Before she died, her last words were, "Thank you for being there during these times. You've been my only friend since college." Thinking of this, tears streamed down my face. In my previous life, my death was tragic. In this life, I am determined to survive and protect my senior sister. I rushed up to the 5th floor and knocked forcefully on Amelia's door. After a while, the door opened, and she stood there holding a lunchbox, looking at me blankly. At that moment, she didn't recognize me, but that didn't matter. I pushed her inside and quickly shut the door. "Could you do me a favor? I want to start a small shop in the dormitory to earn some money. Would you help me with the shopping?" She looked at me in astonishment. "Me? Yes, you. I've asked many classmates, but no one is willing. Can you help me?" My voice trembled. I had imagined countless scenarios where she might refuse, ignore me, suggest I speak to a teacher, or think I was crazy, but she eventually nodded. "Okay, how can I help?" Excited, I placed my bank card on the table. "This is all my living expenses, a total of 3,000 yuan. I need to buy everything within 2 days." I knew it was a small amount, but that was all my grandfather could afford to give me. My parents died early, and he supported my education by collecting recyclables. After paying the tuition, only this amount was left. I took a leave of absence from school under the guise of a severe cold. We went to a supermarket outside the school at noon, borrowed a cart, and hauled back boxes of instant noodles, bottled water, bread, and sausages. The quantity was large, and we quickly spent 2,000 yuan. Why I kept the goods in my senior sister's room was because she lived alone and had more space. I promised her a cut of the profits once we started earning. Amelia agreed without a word. We rearranged the beds a bit to turn them into double-deck shelves and neatly stacked up the goods. By the time we finished, it was already 6 in the evening, starving. We hurried to the cafeteria for dinner. After an afternoon of physical labor, each of us ordered a large bowl of rice noodles and ate voraciously. Just as we were enjoying our meal, a few girls from our dormitory arrived. The class beauty walked over with disdain on her face. "Isn't this the poor student Isabella? You don't look sick to me." The other two started mocking us as well. "Eating so much when sick. You must have hyperthyroidism." And really, Isabella and Amelia make quite a pair. One is as poor as a church mouse, the other as ugly as sin. Ha ha ha, what a rhyme. They burst into harsh laughter. My fists were clenched tightly under the table. Just as I was about to react, Amelia kicked me under the table and frowned at me, shaking her head. I instantly calmed down. With the zombie virus set to break out in a day and a half, Why provoke these people and create trouble for ourselves? After all, every remaining minute was extremely important, so we continued eating silently, treating those four as if they were air. After they taunted us for a while and saw we didn't respond, they lost interest, cursed a few more times, and left. After a silent 10 seconds, Amelia suddenly spoke. It's hard to bear, isn't it? But we have no choice. The zombies are coming soon, and the most important thing is to survive, isn't it? I looked up in shock. What did you say? Amelia looked at me with faint tears in her eyes. I'm really happy to see you again. We can definitely make it through this time, right? It turned out, I wasn't the only one who had come back. My senior sister had returned as well. No wonder she believed my flimsy excuse. Our hands found each other under the table, both burning hot with urgency and determination. This time, we had to survive no matter what. Isabella, we still don't have enough supplies. I have a few $1,000s left. We need to hurry and buy more, Amelia said as she took out her bank card. After dinner, we set out again, this time at the supermarket. We bought 3 bags of rice, dozens of packs of noodles, 100 cans of luncheon meat, some pickled vegetables, a jar of lard, a few simple spices, and several trays of eggs. We also picked up some pumpkins, sweet potatoes, and yams which are easy to store, as well as a kerosene stove, some simple pots, and dishes. 1 barrel each of kerosene and diesel took a great effort to carry back. We only chose apples for fruit because they keep well and can be stored for a long time without spoiling. These supplies would solve our basic food needs for now. Time was limited, our dorm's facilities were limited, and our money was pitifully scarce. Then there were the cleaning supplies. We bought a lot of toilet paper, sanitary pads, and disposable underwear. These items aren't essential for survival, but without them, life would be quite uncomfortable. The next morning, we even found some sturdy iron grills at the second-hand market. We quietly brought them up while the dormitory supervisor wasn't watching in the morning. The doors and windows of our dorm were too vulnerable. These grills could save our lives in critical moments. We also got knives, ropes, a few flares, and a second-hand drone. These items were crucial for our escape and for calling for help. Electricity was another major issue. We couldn't afford expensive solar panels, so we chose a small diesel generator, a quiet one, which we got for just over $1,000. Of course, the power it generated was limited, and it was only relatively quiet. It could only be used in critical moments. I have some old quilts and clothes. We can make do with those. Isabella, can you think of anything else we might need? My senior sister asked, sitting on the bed. Maybe that's about it. Maybe we should buy some more water. The sensation of dehydration was bone deep. A potentially deadly feeling. You could feel the moisture in your cells, even your blood, evaporating bit by bit, but you were powerless to stop it. My senior sister nodded. Okay, have you called home? I did. My grandfather is all who's left at home, I said, feeling a wave of sadness as I remembered that call. I had urged my grandfather to quickly buy some food and drinks and then stay home, but he said staying home wasn't an option. He had to earn my tuition. It hurt, but I had to suppress it and sternly repeated myself several times before he reluctantly agreed. I was worried sick, but unfortunately, my home was too far away. In just a day and a half, it was impossible for me to get there. My home is in a relatively good location. After the zombies arrived, a safe base was quickly established there. Grandfather should be able to survive, I sighed. What about you, senior sister? Senior sister was silent for a while before replying. Pretty much the same. At 10 in the morning, we headed out again. Our funds were running low, so this time we just bought 8 jugs of purified water. It took a lot of effort, but we managed to carry them upstairs bit by bit. While carrying the last jug, we ran into the class beauty returning to her dorm after a meal. She glanced at me with disdain. Isabella, pretending to be sick and skipping without reason. The school will definitely give you a severe punishment. Just you wait. Whatever. My nonchalant response angered her. What did you say? I said. Whatever, I replied, giving her a look. Mind your own business. She stormed over in 2 steps. What right do you, a poor country bumpkin, have to talk to me like that? If you want to die, just go die by yourself. I didn't respond and just carried the water jug into Amelia's dorm room, slamming the door heavily behind me. From outside, her voice could be heard. Oh my God, Isabella actually moved into Amelia's dorm room. It's really a gathering of oddities. Inside the dorm, I shook my head. The advice I gave her to mind her own business was really the best I could offer her. In the previous life when the zombie outbreak started, she was among the first to die. It seems it wasn't just by chance. Such brainless people don't survive long anywhere. It was now 12 o'clock, and if things were still on the same timeline, we only had 2 hours left before the zombies arrived. Senior sister and I decided not to go out anymore. We locked the doors and windows and sat on the bed, silently eating our boxed lunches. These were from the school cafeteria, probably our last normal meal for a while. So, in silent agreement, we ate every grain of rice. Preferring to overeat rather than leave any regrets for later, around 1:50, my phone rang. Picking it up, I saw it was our counselor's name displayed. Hello, the teacher's voice was stern. Isabella, you haven't attended the military training since yesterday noon, have you? There won't be any more training. What are you talking about? The teacher asked, sounding annoyed. Are you trying to drag the whole class down? Our counselor, only a few years older than us, was sharp-tongued but not a bad person. He had scolded classmates who mocked me before, so I instructed him carefully. You need to quickly go back to your dorm, lock up, and don't go anywhere. Before I could finish, the teacher exclaimed in shock, what's happening downstairs? A fight? Instructor, let Evelyn go. Evelyn, that was the class beauty's name. I could clearly hear the screams, roars, and cries on the other end. Just like before, around 2 o'clock. The instructor bit the class beauty, triggering a massive viral outbreak. Teacher, don't go. It was too late. The phone call was abruptly ended. I stood up, staring blankly out the window. The streets, previously empty, were now filled with students running frantically, chased by blood-covered zombies, the crowd visibly multiplying. The speed was alarming, spreading exponentially. Behind me, senior sister's voice broke the silence. Before it happens, no one will believe us. We can't save anyone. That's right, even if we tried to warn them, others would think we were insane. We watched from the window for a long time. Downstairs was a bloody chaos, and every now and then, screams erupted from the hallways. Then, from the next room over, a harrowing cry was heard, and a shadow fell from the empty balcony with a loud thud. It was a girl from our class. Senior sister and I exchanged frightened glances, and instinctively, we both picked up iron bars and hammers and started reinforcing the window. Next, we secured the door. We've now employed the same approach. Our sense of safety has greatly increased. Throughout the entire afternoon, the screams and shouts outside came in waves. Each glance out the window revealed far fewer people running for their lives. Thus, we boldly speculated that there weren't many of us left in the school who were still normal. I turned on my phone and opened our class group chat, only to see a string of horrifying messages. Help. I'm in the 4th floor classroom. Mr. Wesley, covered in blood, is violently banging against the glass. What should I do? The library is full of zombies. The class president is chasing me. I'm hiding in a cabinet in the office. Can someone call the police? Messages like these kept popping up, interspersed with some leaving their last words in voice messages. Everyone kept asking the same thing. Why haven't the police arrived? According to the experience from my past life with my senior, it wasn't that they wouldn't come, but rather they couldn't. The zombie virus had broken out in multiple locations, spreading quickly. The police, fire services, and community organizations soon collapsed. In our previous lives, we died without ever knowing the true cause of the zombies. But in this life, there should be hope to learn the truth. After all, our supplies should last us a long time. I was looking down at these messages when suddenly, a shrill scream came from the next room. Evelyn is downstairs. I initially had no interest in seeing the doomed Evelyn, but their voices were so loud that I went to the window to take a peek. What I saw was truly terrifying. She looked exactly like the last time she was bitten by the instructor. Her face was a bloody, indistinguishable mess, missing an ear, and when she bared her teeth outside the dorm, her mouth was smeared with blood. The only thing that identified her was the light blue JK skirt she wore. Flashes of how she had bullied me crossed my mind, using my moisturizing cream on her feet, squeezing shampoo into my cup, placing tacks on my bed, and calling me a bumpkin. Now, she was dead. The screams from next door had stopped, and soon after, I saw a photo of Evelyn they had snapped in the class group chat. Oh my god, Evelyn looks so scary, she looks like a ghost, she even lost an ear. They started mocking her mercilessly, forgetting their usual flattery. My senior stood behind me. These people are particularly hypocritical, all nice on the surface but actually relishing in seeing you unlucky. I agreed, they are truly cunning, and Evelyn was truly foolish. Isabella, can you still not get through to your grandfather? Senior asked. I picked up my phone and tried again. The same message came through the receiver. The number you have dialed is out of service. At 6 in the evening, my phone finally rang, showing an unknown number. Girl, are you alright? Is something wrong at your school? I've been trying to call for a long time. Hearing my grandfather's voice nearly brought me to tears. Not just him, I had been trying to call all afternoon. It seemed there was a problem with our network. I briefly explained my situation. Choosing to share good news rather than bad, grandfather breathed a sigh of relief. We're all right here. The town is sealed off, and our village too. They say the military will come in a few days. Grandpa, don't go anywhere. Stay at home and wait. Once it's safe here, I'll come to find you. I repeatedly instructed him nervously. Later, the call inexplicably turned into a busy tone, and when I tried to redial, I couldn't get through again, but I felt somewhat more at ease. It seemed this time was much like the last. A safety base will soon be constructed near my hometown. Senior sister, let's stay here steadfastly and survive the zombies. Then we'll be safe. I comforted her. The howling outside never ceased, punctuated occasionally by cries of despair. In the middle of the night, wailing sounds emanated from the next dorm room. Two ordinary people were crying loudly, one calling for their parents, the other cursing why the emergency number wouldn't connect. In the darkness, my senior sister and I silently put in our earplugs. Dawn broke, marking the second day since the zombies had appeared. Early in the morning, my senior sister started cooking sweet potato porridge on a kerosene stove, boiled 2 eggs, and served them with pickled vegetables. We relished the simple breakfast. Afterward, we began organizing the supplies we had hastily gathered earlier. My senior sister, being meticulous, not only sorted everything by category but also labeled them according to their expiration dates. We spent the whole morning on this task, gradually calming down and coming to terms with the chaos outside. For lunch, we had noodles with luncheon meat, which tasted quite good with the various seasonings we had. In the afternoon, while my senior sister sat drawing at the table, I observed the scene outside with binoculars. The area below was now swarming with zombies, including a few familiar faces. I noticed that once people turned into zombies, their pupils became blood red, and their skin turned a stale gray-white, resembling eerie corpses. Their eyesight seemed to deteriorate, but their hearing and smell were extremely sharp, and their destructive power was immense. I witnessed a small female zombie repeatedly slamming into a wall. After much pounding, bricks fell, and eventually, the wall collapsed. Such terrifying destructive power, without formidable weapons. Humans stood no chance against them. We were simply too insignificant. I was also worried about something else. The water in the toilets wouldn't last long, probably only until tonight when the water and electricity would likely be cut off. We had prudently collected some water in buckets and basins for later use. Sure enough, at 3 in the afternoon, a wail erupted from next door. Why is there no water? I turned the tap, and only a few drops of remaining water trickled out. Isabella. It's not just the water, the electricity is out too, my senior sister regretfully informed me, but we have a generator, so we should be okay. I thought for a moment, let's use it only when it's absolutely necessary, otherwise it's too noisy. Okay, we feared attracting not just zombies but also other survivors in the dormitory, like the two next door. Their voices leaked through the poorly insulated walls. Why didn't you collect water? Are you an idiot? Why didn't you collect it yourself? Also, why is there one less pack of my instant noodles? Don't be so petty. Once we get out, I'll compensate you. My dad owns a factory. Among these 3 roommates, indeed, 2 were wealthy second-generation kids. Evelyn, who had passed away, came from a family in the mining business, often brash and cunning but not very smart. One was Grace, whose family owned the factory. She was wealthy but loved to take advantage of others and had a sharp tongue. She usually teamed up with Evelyn. Another girl, named Abigail, came from a rather modest background and always played the follower to the other 2. On the surface, she seemed unremarkable, but she was actually quite scheming. It was she who had pushed me out of the dorm room back then. If the other two were like brazen, domineering dogs, then Abigail was the venomous snake lurking in the shadows, always ready to strike unexpectedly. The two of them together truly made for an intriguing spectacle. In the evening, my senior sister asked what I wanted to eat. Suddenly, I remembered the century eggs I had casually picked up from the supermarket. Let's make century egg and lean pork porridge. We didn't have lean pork, so we used sausage instead, added salt and lard, and sprinkled some dehydrated vegetables from the supermarket to create a fragrant, modified version of the porridge. After dinner, each of us had an apple to replenish our vitamins, to save water while washing dishes. We first wiped them with paper towels, then rinsed them briefly with a small amount of water. The used water was collected in a bucket for flushing the toilet. Being students from impoverished backgrounds, frugality was deeply ingrained in us, and at that moment, it was exhibited to its fullest extent. While we were well-fed and watered, a quarrel broke out next door over a bite of food. Grace shouted, "Abigail, you're so cunning, where have you hidden the food? Hand it over now." Abigail retorted sarcastically, the instant noodles are mine to begin with. Why should I give them to you? Grace fired back, really, after all the times Evelyn and I treated you, turns out we were feeding an ingrate. Hand them over before I lose my temper. It seemed Abigail didn't give in, and after a stalemate, loud banging noises came from next door as if a fight had broken out. But this time, the domineering Grace didn't win, as she soon started wailing, "You'll come to a bad end." Hearing this, I shook my head, thinking that those 2 packs of noodles, if rationed, might last them for another couple of days. At the window, my senior sister was observing something downstairs. "Isabella, have you noticed? The zombies outside seem much more agitated today." I went over to take a look. And indeed, today's zombies seemed more volatile than yesterday's, frequently slamming into walls and howling. We briefly analyzed the situation. Zombies need food too, and with almost no one left outside, their lack of food had driven them to desperation. Thus, anyone venturing out now was undoubtedly walking into their own demise. Just then, several boys in our class group started getting restless. It was odd because although we couldn't connect to the external internet, the campus network was still functioning. They shared that they had been hiding in the boys' dormitory for 2 days without water, electricity, or food, and couldn't go on like this. They needed to take action. When they outlined a plan to use table legs as weapons and fight their way to the snack bar or cafeteria, I, having no close ties with those boys but out of a sense of camaraderie, responded, "It's already night. Do you know how many zombies are out there?" At this, Grace immediately cursed, "Just because you're scared doesn't mean everyone is. What would a country bumpkin like you know? All right then, have it your way." I thought. I had tried to advise them and was tired of it, so afterwards, I didn't bother anymore and just watched as they strategized their plan. They thought of everything from geographical positions to breakthrough points and response tactics. Finally, after discussing for 2 hours, they were ready to act. They uploaded pictures of the weapons they had made, sticks fashioned from 2 table legs bound together. Frankly speaking, zombies are incredible creatures that can continuously break down walls. Would they really be scared of such flimsy physical attacks? Soon, a few of the boys set off, chanting slogans of certain victory in the group chat before they left. 10 minutes later, from the direction of the boys' dormitory, several screams were heard, abruptly cut off as if someone had been choked. "What's going on? What happened? Are they still alive? It seems there's no one left. My dormitory window faces that way, and the ground is covered in blood, with signs of dragging." For a moment, the chat group fell silent, including those who had previously egged others on. Naturally, this included the overbearing Grace, who was now as quiet as a mouse. As the night deepened, my senior sister tightened the curtains and placed a dim kerosene lamp by the bed. We had tested before that such faint light is negligible under the strong blackout curtains. Our supplies absolutely must not be exposed. In this post-apocalyptic world, everyone is for themselves. People would fight over a morsel of food, let alone the stash of supplies we had in our room. We were very cautious when transporting supplies, trying our best to avoid others by moving during class times. My senior sister continued to paint. Getting to know her, she is a very artistic and quiet girl. Extremely talented in painting, bringing scenes to life with just a few strokes, I started looking through the photos on my phone, most of them about my grandfather, him cooking with a bent back, sitting under a lamp counting the money he earned, cheerfully pushing a cart out the door. As I looked, tears began to fall. My parents died early, succumbing to illness when I was just a few years old. Leaving my grandfather to raise me by collecting scrap, he never let me down, even when he had no money. He made sure I never lacked food or clothing. He always had my school supplies and fees ready early so I wouldn't lose face in front of my classmates. During my adolescence, he would even plead with the neighbor's wife to take me shopping for girls' necessities. I really miss him. I wonder if I'll ever have the chance to see him again in this lifetime. At my saddest moment, a tissue was handed to me. My senior sister looked at the photo on my phone. "Can I see?" She gently touched the photo. Her voice somber. "Is this your grandfather? He looks quite old." "Yes, he's 74. I lowered my head. People his age usually enjoy their lives, but my family is different. The original plan was to start working part-time after military training, but then the zombie outbreak happened. Grandpa's good fortune will come later," my senior sister said, looking at me. "We'll survive. We'll be all right," I murmured in agreement. "What about you? How's your family now?" She paused for a moment. "I don't know. My mom died in a car accident last year. My dad abandoned us many years ago because I developed vitiligo." It turned out my senior sister had an even sadder story than mine. "At least I had my grandfather, but she was practically an orphan." "Let's not think about these unhappy things anymore. Let's go to sleep early," she suggested. We each lay down in our beds. The sounds of zombies outside became particularly clear at night, and faintly. The sound of crying could be heard in the corridor, unclear from which dormitory it came. In a daze, I too fell asleep. I seemed to have a long dream, walking in a fog without seeing the path ahead, bewildered. This was already the third day since the zombies appeared. Just before dawn, I was awakened by a sharp scream. I turned over and sat up, clearly hearing where the sound was coming from. It was Grace next door. "Abigail, what are you doing tying me up? Let me go." "Let you go?" Abigail sneered. "Yesterday you stole my instant noodles. Today you're stealing my water. What are you, a rat? You lot are just like rats that can't stand the light. No different from that Isabella. If it weren't for our pity, you wouldn't even know where to lick the ground." "Heh, fine," Abigail smirked darkly. Suddenly, I heard Grace shouting, "What are you doing? Why are you pushing me? What's going on?" Abigail was decisive, with the sound of dragging and doors opening swiftly. She then slammed the door shut with great force. Grace, who had been so bold just moments ago, started cursing but seemed to become frightened. Crying, she pleaded, "Please, open the door. There are zombies downstairs." "I was wrong. Isn't that enough?" Abigail remained silent, which made her even more desperate. She started banging loudly. "Should I kowtow to you? Would that make it better?" Still, Abigail said nothing. And Grace immediately started knocking on the door of my room and my senior sister's. "Isabella Amelia, please let me in. I'll do anything for you. Just tell me what to do." "Okay, let her in." "That's never going to happen." Indeed, she was senseless, her voice getting louder and louder. Little did she know, the louder she became, the more likely she was to attract the zombies' attention. Soon, she screamed, "Don't come near me." Ah, her voice cut off at its peak. And soon the sounds of zombies chewing and growling took over outside. Through the crack of the door, I saw Grace, now a limp heap, being torn apart by 5 or 6 zombies. Her resentful eyes stared towards the next door, full of intense hatred even in death. Shortly after, Grace's limbs started moving, like a stiff-jointed puppet. She twisted and stood up, joining the group of zombies as they thrashed down the hallway. "This is retribution. Harm others, and it will come back to bite you," my senior sister murmured softly. She summed it up perfectly. For some reason, having seen so many gory scenes, we seemed to have become immune, no longer feeling nauseous and uncomfortable like in our past lives. We had a simple breakfast of milk, bread, and 1 egg each. It was nutritionally sufficient, as we were clearing up the table. We heard Abigail knocking on the wall next door. "Isabella Amelia, are you there? You weren't scared just now, were you?" What was she trying to do now? She continued knocking. "I know you're in there. I want to apologize for the past. My family isn't well off either. I was afraid they'd bully me, so I'm sorry." Her tone was sincere, but if it weren't for the experiences of our past lives and the recent events, I might have felt a tiny bit of sympathy for her, but now, I simply couldn't believe her lies. She kept rambling, Isabella Amelia, can you forgive me? I still ignored her, and my senior sister simply pulled out her earplugs. Abigail became frantic, I avenged you, I pushed Grace out there, and it was also me who sent Evelyn to find the instructor. I knew from the start something was off with the instructor, don't be fooled. I also dislike them, just because they have money, they think there's something special, wow. This woman was too dangerous to mess with. Can I come over to your place? Can we be sisters for life? She kept rambling on, too noisy. I also picked up my earplugs and started reading a novel. After a while, feeling hungry, we stood up as if by agreement to prepare lunch. Once we removed our earplugs, that hoarse crying voice drifted over. Really, won't you forgive me? Why is that person still talking? My senior sister asked. I shook my head, probably isn't thirsty yet, amidst her sobbing. We cooked instant noodles, adding sausages and dried vegetables, and each of us had a large bowl. After lunch, things finally quieted down next door. We had grown accustomed to the sounds of zombies outside, so we took the opportunity to rest with a peaceful nap. In the afternoon, following my senior sister's suggestion, we did some physical training, using mineral water bottles to work on our arm strength, tying them to our limbs to improve speed, and doing planks to enhance our core and endurance. Senior sister said, Isabella, we can't stay in the dorm forever. If no rescue comes, we'll have to leave eventually. I hoped that day would never come. In the evening, we continued by making century egg porridge, each of us enjoying a bowl. After dinner, senior sister fiddled with the radio. Our phones could no longer connect to anything but the campus network, but the radio still worked. Most channels were just static, but one was broadcasting regularly. The message was the same as it had been for the past 2 days. In these critical times, citizens are advised to remain calm, stay indoors, and wait for further instructions. This message was unsettling. The outside situation must be dire, perhaps a complete collapse, to warrant such announcements. As I was feeling anxious, my phone lit up. Opening it, I frowned and said, Senior sister, look, it was a message from Abigail in our class group. I have no water or food, and my phone battery is almost dead. Next door, Isabella is refusing to help and even insulted me, and she caused Grace's death. By the way, she's hoarding a lot of supplies in her room, both food and drink. Can anyone break in? Immediately, 2 guys responded, Really? Is there food? Are you sure? We'll try to come over. Abigail replied, Absolutely certain. At that moment, rage erupted in me like molten lava. I wished I could burst into the next room and tear her apart. A snake is always a snake, feigning pity while plotting a lethal move. Then came Abigail's arrogant laughter from next door. Fine, if you won't help, let's all go down together. I was so furious, blood rushing to my head. I almost wanted to charge out and confront her. I had never seen someone so despicable. She caused their deaths and now falsely accused me. As I clenched my fists, senior sister said, she wants one of 2 things. Doesn't she? Either we go out ourselves, or someone breaks in and forces us out. We can't let her have her way. Yes, we couldn't let her succeed. With zombies thick as fleas outside, what would the chances of those people even getting here? Even if they did come, wouldn't the noise of breaking down the door attract the zombies? I immediately calmed down. Right, she just wants to see us panic, so I didn't reply at all. I thought that maybe 1 or 2 might be swayed by Abigail's deceit. But eventually, they hesitated. I feel like this isn't reliable. The girls' dorm is too far. We could die getting there. Yeah, hasn't Abigail always disliked Isabella? Maybe this is just her revenge. Forget it. Whoever wants to go can go. I only have a little battery left. I want to save it for emergency calls. I'm going offline. Classmates. In the end, Abigail was left shouting alone in the group. No one took action in the end. Eventually, she calmed down. No more messages came through. Probably her phone battery had died. She started to curse and smash the wall repeatedly, but the sounds gradually grew fainter, likely from exhaustion. Indeed, with only 2 packs of instant noodles, she could last 2 months at 1 meal a day, assuming she didn't starve. That night, she intermittently ranted at the wall next door. Having endured zombie assaults twice, we weren't so fragile. We went to sleep, completely ignoring her. It's like a dog howling beside you. Would you bother to bite back? Especially if it were a mad dog. The next morning, as I opened my eyes, the familiar roar of zombies greeted my ears, continuous like cicadas in summer. It was the fourth day since the zombies had appeared. I felt something significant might happen today. I glanced at the wall, knowing someone like Abigail wouldn't quiet down until she was dead. With her energy still high and in a state of breakdown, she might do something drastic. After discussing with my senior, we decided to respond to changes with constancy and take decisive actions if necessary. We harm no one, but we must guard against others harming us. We cooked as usual, cleaned ourselves briefly, and used the remaining water in the bucket to flush the toilet. Still, what was meant to come, came. We had just gotten up in the afternoon when several sharp explosions sounded at the door. Bang, 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 peering through the door crack. I saw the explosions were caused by small paper balls thrown from next door. The technique was possible because there was a glass window on the dormitory door, allowing a small gap to throw through. I vaguely remembered these were snap pops. Evelyn had bought several boxes before and even sprinkled them on my bed as a prank. Throwing snap pops at my door had only one purpose: to lure the zombies, to break down my door. This woman had resorted to such a twisted and vicious method. Not good. I hear something, my senior said, her face pale. The zombies were really coming. Zombies have very poor vision, but their hearing and smell are extremely sharp. Soon after the noise began, the howls of zombies could be heard at the end of the hallway. The noise was getting closer and louder. Without time to think further, we grabbed a hammer and nails and started to reinforce the iron bars again. Just after a few hits, the zombies reached the door, pounding it with increasing force. With each bang of the snap pops, the door shook more violently, and soon a crack appeared. Through the crack, I saw Grace's bloodied and disfigured face, her teeth bared in a howl, trying to squeeze through. Fortunately, the iron bars just managed to hold them back, but it was hard to say how long this barrier would last. My mind went blank at that moment, the terrifying images of death overwhelming, the despair suffocating. In that critical moment, my senior dragged a table over and forcefully held up against the bars. Her voice snapped me back to reality. Is there any way we can divert the sound? Oddly enough, her words cleared the fog before my eyes. I had an idea. I ran back to my desk and pulled out a small gadget from the drawer. It was a rechargeable toy, shaped like a fluttering moth, with a small remote control. This was a little gift from the science club's recruitment a few days ago. I frantically pressed the remote control, but it was unresponsive. The batteries were dead. In a panic, I connected it to a portable charger. As it charged, the noise outside grew louder, and the crack under the door visibly widened. The firecrackers next door continued to crackle loudly, and I could imagine how smug Abigail must have felt at that moment. I rushed to the door and pushed a table against it. Through the gap, the gruesome, bloody heads of zombies jostled for space. One even squeezed through the crack, its eye bulging out from the force. Although there was still some distance between them and us, the collapsing door meant our dorm was on the verge of being overrun. Desperate, I couldn't wait any longer than a minute. I unplugged the charger and accidentally cut my finger, dripping a lot of blood on the toy. Then I pressed the remote control. It worked wonders and soared up, flying right over the heads of the zombies. At first, the zombies didn't react, but as soon as I pressed the sound button, the rhythmic beeping noise immediately drew their attention. Along with the scent of blood, they paused, tilting their heads as if listening, a couple sniffing the air, perhaps catching the scent. Seconds later, they swarmed out, frantically chasing after the fluttering moth. The experiment was a success. They were indeed highly sensitive to sound and smell. I couldn't see outside and had to operate the remote by feel, guiding the zombies down the hallway. It was a difficult process as the device kept crashing into walls. I pressed hard on the remote with my bleeding finger, trying to prevent any hint of the blood scent from spreading. Zombies are sensitive to the smell of blood and sound, but there's a limit to how far they can sense it, the specifics of which are yet to be determined. At my most tense moment, a firecracker from next door went off, followed by a scream. "Ah, Grace, don't come near. Help. Save me, save." Her voice cut off at its most shrill point. My senior and I exchanged looks, understanding the situation. All the zombies were now crowded outside Abigail's door. She had set off another firecracker in her panic. Without any bars to protect her, the door was likely breached instantly. The first to bite her was Grace, who had turned into a zombie, so now she was just another meal for them. It wouldn't be long before she, too, wandered the campus like them, with the zombies next door and the remote unresponsive because it was out of power. We had no choice but to quickly dismantle the bed and use the boards to barricade the door. Afterwards, we held our breath, not daring to make a sound, until the horde of zombies eventually moved away. My senior and I collapsed on the floor, drenched in sweat as if we had just been pulled from water. Just moments ago, death had been so close, we were nearly done for. We didn't mention Abigail again, partly because it was still a shock and partly because it was a sore sight. If only she hadn't been so spiteful, she wouldn't have brought destruction upon herself. Now, as the sunset streamed into the room, I watched it for a long time. Senior, do you think we'll ever get out of here? She nodded vigorously. Yes, Isabella, we will survive, and so will Grandpa. Senior used the same term as I did, calling him Grandpa. It warmed my heart, and I nodded along. After Abigail's death, our floor was completely quiet. Perhaps other classmates were still hiding on this floor, but no one knew. The class group chat had also gone completely silent. It's understandable. Several days have passed since the power outage. Even if there were any remaining power banks, they must have been depleted by now. I have no idea whether they are dead or alive at this point. The campus is no longer the bustling place it once was. The bloodstains everywhere have turned dark, attracting countless flies and insects, and the air is filled with an increasingly intense stench. My senior and I no longer dare to open the windows casually. When it gets too stuffy, we crack the window just a bit to let some air in, then quickly close it. The smell in the hallways has also become stronger. So we took the opportunity when there were no zombies in the corridor to quietly reinforce the door with nail-free glue and wooden boards. What the situation outside is like, we have no idea. The network on our phones has been gone for a while. The radio can only tune into that one mechanical channel. We firmly believe that the country will not perish, that brave people will stand up to save this world. They are scientists, soldiers, powerful decision-makers. People from all walks of life who possess both wisdom and bravery. So, as ordinary people, we too must be brave. My senior and I encourage each other, telling each other that we must persevere. For a long time after that, we try not to think about the anxiety-inducing things, filling our days with study, hobbies, exercise, and housework. We try to keep our lives as full as possible. Over time, I've come to see this life as a blessing in disguise. There's no need to deal with annoying people or engage in pointless socializing. If it were peacetime, I might actually enjoy this. Time passes slowly, yet also quickly. Before we know it, it's already the 17th day since the zombies arrived. That afternoon, the usually dazed zombies outside suddenly became agitated. I went to the window and saw a disheveled young man burst out. He was wielding an axe, swinging it around, and started shouting hoarsely, "I'm going to fight you." I recognized him. He was a staff member from the cafeteria, I think from the stir-fry counter. Perhaps because of his access to the cafeteria, he had survived until now. But why come out now? I was anxious, but there was nothing I could do to help him. I could only watch as he was tackled to the ground by zombies and violently bitten. Soon, he lay motionless. After a while, he got up, dragging one leg, and joined the horde of zombies. This incident deeply troubled both me and my senior. A few days later, on the 20th day since the zombies came, we took advantage of the quiet in the hallways to secretly run a diesel generator for some electricity. Though we had closed the doors and windows tightly and used blankets to muffle the sound, the so-called silent generator still made a buzzing noise. Fortunately, the zombies only lingered at the door and did not break in. Once we had power, we charged our phones, only to find them silent. We had hoped for a surprise in-network signal, but it was to no avail. My senior suggested, should we try flying the drone, to see what's happening around the school? I nodded, that sounds good. We clumsily started operating it. When we installed the iron bars on the windows, we left a section that could be opened. Now, we carefully opened it and flew the drone out. The drone first circled around the dormitory twice. From the video, We could clearly see the state inside the dormitory. The neighboring room was a complete mess, with blood, garbage, and excrement everywhere. It was evident that Abigail had been so frightened before she was bitten that she lost control. Almost no one else was around, except for one. It was a female student on the second floor who had apparently turned into a zombie, but she was immobile, continuously writhing and howling on the ground. The whites of her eyes were blood red. I stared at the screen for a long time before I finally figured out the reason. She must have been trapped in a crevice before dying, struggling to break free. From a distance, through the window, I could see several zombies in the corridor. They bared their teeth and growled at the empty hallway, wandering back and forth. I controlled the drone to tour around other parts of the school, where zombies were everywhere, particularly numerous on the playground. We also looked outside the school gates, where the streets were in bloody disarray with wrecked cars everywhere. No survivors were in sight. I wanted to look further, but the second-hand drone's battery was failing. To avoid a crash, we had to bring it back. After this observation, both my senior and I were very disappointed. The situation outside was far worse than we imagined. Escaping seemed as hard as reaching the heavens. 2 months after the zombies arrived, we had run out of apples and bread. Though we still had plenty of other food, the troubling part was our water supply was running low. We had been very conservative, not daring to waste anything beyond what was necessary for survival. My senior and I discussed whether we should look for supplies somewhere. We had used the drone to scout. There were several places in the school with water, like the snack bar and the guard room, but they were too far, and we dared not venture there. At the end of the hallway on our floor, there was a laundry room with a big bucket containing more than half a bucket of water. We weren't sure if it was clean, and the risk was high. If it was contaminated by zombies, drinking it would be hardly different from drinking poison, so we had to give up on that idea. I turned on the radio more frequently, hoping for some good news before we died of thirst. And then, one day, it really came, on September 17th, more than 2 months after the outbreak. Another mechanical female voice came from the radio. Several safe bases have now been established across the nation. The closest one to you is located at. We anxiously waited for more information, but then there was a long stretch of static and nothing could be heard. My senior and I looked at each other, but we were still incredibly excited. There's a safe base near us. We might be saved, I said. We need to pay more attention to the radio these next few days. We must find this place. That was the happiest day for my senior and me in over 2 months. In the following days, we constantly fiddled with the radio, even carrying it around in search of a signal, imagining that doing so would help us catch the entire message. And then, in the evening, the message reappeared. The virus surges forth. Defenses are falling back. Several safe bases have been established nationwide. Please proceed to them autonomously. The closest one to you is located at longitude 101 degrees 08 minutes. Latitude 26 degrees 05 minutes, longitude 101 degrees 08 minutes, latitude 26 degrees 05 minutes. I quickly wrote down the coordinates. After checking the map, I discovered that the location was called S-Town, surrounded by mountains and quite far, over 100 kilometers away from us. My senior and I looked at each other. If it had been 10 or so kilometers, we might have attempted it, but 100 kilometers, how could we go? After all, even escaping the school was difficult. Let's wait a bit longer. There must be a way. Maybe we can find others to join us, my senior said soothingly. So, in the days that followed, we packed up simple survival supplies while frequently using the drone to probe the outside situation. We discovered 2 survivors. They seemed to be a couple, curled up in a sealed bridge tunnel. Every day, they would venture out in search of food. To verify the reliability of these 2 individuals, we observed them with a drone for several days. Fortunately, we did, because the incident that occurred 2 days later filled us with dread. After missing several meals, the woman found a bag of bread in an abandoned car. She intended to eat it secretly, but the man suddenly appeared. A struggle ensued between them, and the woman was slapped several times before falling to the ground. The man didn't stop there. He kicked her several times, with tears streaming down her face. The woman watched as the man finished the bag of bread. When we returned the next day, we found the man dead, surrounded by a pool of blood, with a knife still embedded in his body. The woman stood nearby, holding a piece of bloody flesh in her hand. She was actually smiling. Then she noticed the drone, smiled at the camera, and waved her hand. Her smile sent shivers down our spine, and I immediately flew the drone back, taking a long detour to avoid being followed. We had to be extremely cautious. If anyone discovered we still had food, my senior sister and I would undoubtedly be in grave danger. We sat in silence in the dim dormitory, the air growing increasingly thick with the stench of blood and decay. We knew we had to leave soon. We decided not to rely on anyone else and to leave on our own. It was a risky decision, but in this treacherous environment, where survival was at stake, we had no other choice. Isabella, can you drive? I suppose I can. Not sure. Well, you can learn, even if you haven't eaten pork. You've seen pigs walk. In this apocalyptic world, who cares about traffic violations anymore? I reassured my senior sister. I think it'll be okay. It's like driving a go-kart. There was an open pickup truck downstairs, a diesel model, perfect for our needs. My senior sister and I began to inventory the items we needed to take with us. Heavy items like rice and generators were out of the question, but we tried to take everything else we could, including a storage battery and 3 power banks. After all, we weren't sure if we could safely reach S-Town. Carrying all these items downstairs in multiple trips was not feasible. We figured out a slightly better method. We first packed our belongings into 3 bundles using bed sheets. Then we pried open the iron bars of the window with tools. Afterwards, my senior sister operated the drone to scout around the dormitory. With practice over many days, we had become quite skilled at controlling it. Once we confirmed that there were no immediate dangers nearby, I threw out a rope with several knots tied in it. Carefully, I climbed out of the window and slid down. This was also a tense process, although there were no zombies in the dorms below at the moment. We had to be vigilant in case they suddenly appeared. When I reached the 2nd floor, a zombie's scream startled me. I remembered it was the one stuck in the crack. Biting my teeth, I gathered my courage, slid down to the pickup, and quickly climbed in, locking the door behind me. This car had been brought by a teacher after the zombie outbreak. He had crashed it into a wall, and while checking the damage, was overwhelmed by zombies. Inside, the scene was preserved as it had been. The keys were still in the ignition, and a briefcase lay on the back seat. After entering the car, I took a moment to calm down, then signaled an okay with my hand to the drone. My senior sister pulled back the rope and began to lower our belongings. When they were close to the bottom, I took them and stuffed them into the car. Throughout this process, we maintained absolute silence. The noise, and even the scent we emitted could attract zombies. Just like that, 1 bundle, 2 bundles, 3 bundles. I quickly stuffed everything into the back seat. The process was tense but smooth. Finally, it was my senior sister's turn. She stuffed the drone into her backpack. She climbed out of the dormitory, looking at her frail and thin figure. I couldn't help but feel worried. After all, things had gone too smoothly up to now, unnaturally so. My 6th sense told me that something might happen. I kept my eyes fixed on her, while also watching every movement from the windows. Earlier, when I had come down, there had been a senior monitoring the drone, but now there was no one to protect her. Her body swayed as she descended to the 3rd floor, then to the 2nd. In midair, she paused for a moment, no doubt startled by the zombie noises just as I had been, but she quickly adjusted her posture and continued to slide down, soon reaching the junction between the 1st and 2nd floors. Just then, the zombie noises became much sharper, and 2 seconds later, a disheveled zombie with a face covered in blood lunged out of a 2nd floor window, opening its gaping mouth towards the senior in midair. It was the female zombie who had been stuck in the gap. She had managed to escape. I almost screamed, but quickly covered my mouth, realizing that the noise would attract more zombies. The situation upstairs was extremely perilous. The zombie was only a meter away from the senior. Any hesitation on her part, and the creature could have lunged at her. After all, they are a species driven purely by instinct. Fortunately, the senior had good mental strength. She didn't look up but sped up her descent. She was just over 3 meters from the ground. I clenched the door handle tightly, ready to open it quickly and pull her in as soon as she reached. Meanwhile, the zombie upstairs became more agitated, half of its body already protruding out. It was only a matter of time before it would clamber out entirely. I was desperate to rush out and pull the senior to safety, but that would likely have ended in mutual destruction. I had to be ready to floor the accelerator as soon as she was down and drive away immediately. My heart was in my throat, silently urging her on. Hurry, senior, hurry. Finally, she slid down. The instant I opened the door and pulled her into the car, the zombie also crashed down, landing right on our car roof. At that moment, my scalp nearly split open, as the zombie, separated from me by only a pane of glass, bared its teeth and drooled blood onto the window, looking terrifyingly grotesque. Fortunately, aside from baring its teeth, it didn't turn back to bite the senior or break through the window. In that instant, my mind went blank, and instinct drove my actions. I pulled the senior into the car, slammed the door shut, all in under 2 seconds. Then I started the car and floored the accelerator, reversing out quickly, because of the speed. I soon shook off the female zombie. I drove skillfully towards the school gate. This was a pre-planned route. The road was wide and unobstructed, not easily blocked by zombies. Of course, the noise of the car attracted quite a few zombies, who crazily chased after us, including the female zombie who had rolled up from the ground. The scene was horrifying as they chased the car out of the school and onto the streets. I drove recklessly, followed by a horde of frenzied zombies. At that point, I could no longer distinguish the roads. I just drove wherever I could shake them off. My heart raced as fast as the car, staring intently at the rearview mirror, charging forward. Finally, after bursting out of a small alley, I lost the group of zombies. The senior looked back several times. It looks like we've lost them. Isabella, your driving isn't half bad. That's when I realized my hands were shaking and my back was soaked with sweat. Senior, I've never driven a car before. Really? Yes. But there was an auto repair shop right next to my family home. I watched them fix cars every day, I said, still shaken by the memory. My senior sister hummed in acknowledgement. Maybe it's your talent. In reality, I'd rather think of it as a stress response. People often release energy beyond their natural capacity in emergency situations. For instance, I once saw a mother lift a car with her bare hands to rescue her child trapped beneath its wheel. My senior sister opened up the map navigation. Although there was no internet, the offline maps were still available. We chose a remote route towards the highway. Our journey was nerve-wracking. The city's destruction was far worse than imagined. Malls, supermarkets, and pharmacies were all smashed and looted. The ground was also littered with dark, decaying human remains. Of course, we also encountered a few small-scale zombie attacks. It took us a long time to finally get on the highway, but we were shocked to find the entrance blocked by large stones and railings, all cemented together. Moving them was impossible, as it was getting late. We dared not head back to the city and instead found an empty house near the toll station to stay temporarily. At night, we occasionally heard zombies moaning and moving outside. We hid in the house and cooked 2 bowls of noodles on a kerosene stove. We were famished, having not eaten all day, and wolfed down the food. After eating, feeling a bit better, my senior sister looked out through the glass window, then came over and opened the map. Let's discuss where we should head tomorrow, considering the hundreds of kilometers we needed to travel. Today's detours had only covered less than 12 miles. I was anxious about when we would arrive. I suggested, let's avoid the city center. Although the roads are better, it's much more dangerous. Then let's take the rural roads. The more remote, the better, as they are less populated. My senior sister marked our route in red. We'll pass through County N, then these villages. How about that? My senior sister's planning was thorough, and I had no objections. This time, we were much more composed and braver than before. We took turns sleeping and keeping watch at night. Due to the tension, our sleep was restless, filled with nightmares. The next day, at dawn, we quickly ate something and set off. As our car was leaving the highway, an elderly zombie suddenly burst through the barrier behind us. The zombie moved incredibly fast, darting to the window, almost sticking its head inside. Quick as a flash, my senior sister jabbed it with a wooden bucket. That was close. She quickly rolled up the window, vowing never to open it again. We had grown, without a doubt. If we continued training, we could become women capable of slaying countless zombies. Along the way, my senior sister kept a close eye on the map and our surroundings, while I concentrated on driving. During tense moments, I suggested playing some music. As soon as I pressed the play button, a creepy, chilling sound filled the air. Turns out, The previous car owner was listening to ghost stories about tomb raiding. Forget it. Better not to listen, we were already having nightmares, no need to add to the mental torment. By then, the car was driving through a wasteland, with lush crops on both sides. The sight was disheartening. These crops would probably never be harvested again. Occasionally, a few zombies appeared in the distance, but they were too far away, and with the car moving fast, they posed no real threat. Thus, our journey was much more relaxed than the day before, and our mood significantly lighter. Suddenly, my senior sister asked me, if at that time, when you said to get supplies, if I don't help, what will you do? I've considered the worst-case scenario. If need be, I'll struggle on alone, but in the end, even if I have to tie you up, I'll make sure you're in the dorm with me. I also asked my senior a question. If it wasn't me who ran to your doorstep in a previous life but someone else, would you have helped them? She smiled after hearing this. Can I keep that a secret? You'll find out eventually. I was naturally not pleased with that answer, so she responded, as someone with vitiligo, I am seen as an ugly outcast in the eyes of others. Some even think I'm contagious and keep their distance. Isabella, you are the only one who greets me and initiates conversation with me. She paused for a moment. So, I don't help just anyone. After hearing this, I felt a warmth in my heart. And I believe she did too. Although it's unfortunate to find ourselves in such dire times, we've been fortunate enough to forge a most precious friendship amidst the adversity. That evening, we finally neared the town of S. Ahead of us lay an incredibly steep mountain road. According to the map, once we crossed it, we would enter S town. However, as night was fast approaching, we decided to rest for the night. At the foot of the mountain was an abandoned factory that had been deserted for a long time. Its doors and windows were wide open, and large iron pipes over a meter in diameter were scattered around the ground. This place was far from an ideal camping site, but we had no other choice at the moment. Staying in the car was too exposed. The doors and windows of the rooms were broken, and there was a particularly foul smell inside. Reluctantly, we decided to spend the night inside the pipes. For dinner, we indulged in instant noodles with a luxurious addition of a can of luncheon meat. After dinner, I habitually turned on my phone, and to my surprise, there was a faint signal. It seemed that the information from the radio was correct. S-Town was indeed a safe haven. I couldn't access the internet, but I tried making a phone call and, amazingly, got through after 3 attempts. I couldn't make out what was being said on the other end, so in haste, I quickly shared our situation. Before I could finish, the signal was lost again. It's okay, my senior sister comforted me. Tomorrow we'll head straight into the mountains. As the night deepened, we took turns keeping watch and sleeping. It was a peaceful night, but who could have anticipated that this calm was just the surface of an undercurrent? Not far from us was a small village swarming with zombies. While we were sleeping, they were heading our way. I was half asleep, gazing at the night sky outside the pipe, when suddenly I heard a faint groaning sound. I woke up instantly, squinting into the distance. What I saw next nearly scared me to death. Hundreds of zombies were wandering in the dark, less than 100 meters from us. I quickly woke up my senior sister, who was also startled. Grabbing a stick and her backpack, she said, "Quick, Isabella, let's get to the car." My face was pale as I looked over her shoulder at the pipe opening behind her, where a zombie was already poking its head through. Realizing something, she suddenly said to me, "Isabella, open the trunk and climb in, hurry." Our car's rear was blocking the other exit of the large pipe. My first reaction was no. What about my senior sister? If I got into the car, I would rather we perish together. But then, my senior sister lunged at me, pushing me forcefully, her voice turning shrill. "Climb inside. No, hurry, think of your grandfather," she cried. "What will happen to him if you die?" Pushing me again, this time with more force, I hit the trunk. Behind me, I heard my senior sister scream as the zombie bit into her. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, her lips forming the words, "Please go, I beg you." With a heavy heart, I opened the trunk and climbed inside. In that instant, more zombies flooded in, tears streaming down my face. I gritted my teeth, started the car. And as I looked in the rearview mirror, my senior sister staggered out, her eyes now a bloody red, just like those of the zombies. As she opened her mouth wide towards me, "Senior sister, sis," tears blurred my vision. The car sped forward, pursued by an increasing horde of zombies. Instinctively, I pressed the accelerator, racing up the mountain road. In that moment, my heart felt as though it had been gouged out. Overwhelmed by fear and confusion, once again, I found myself the loneliest person in the world. I remembered a conversation I had with my senior. I asked, if it had been someone else who ran to your doorstep in a previous life, instead of me, would you have helped them? She replied, as someone with vitiligo, I'm seen as an ugly outcast in the eyes of others. Some even think I'm contagious and avoid me. Isabella, you were the only one who greeted me and spoke to me willingly. She added, I wouldn't help just anyone, but you are Isabella. Because of my little act of kindness, my compassionate senior saved me once again, but this time, it cost her her life. I hate these zombies so much, hate the virus that turns people into zombies, hate this world so much. Tears clouded my eyes. The car had reached halfway up the mountain when it suddenly stopped, unresponsive to the gas pedal. That's when I realized. The fuel tank was empty. Confused, I remembered the diesel I had picked up yesterday, intending to refuel, but it was too dark. So I planned to wait until daylight. Now, that diesel was still in the abandoned factory. Behind me, the growling was not far off. At their pace, they would catch up with me in half an hour. It seemed like fate had doomed us. Perhaps, escape was never an option. Death was our destiny. I looked up at the pitch-black sky and collapsed to the ground. I didn't want to run anymore. Let's all die together then. Perish together, I thought. The zombies' growling grew louder, and I could now see their bizarrely poised but astonishingly fast figures. I stood up, standing still in the middle of the road, waiting for them to reach me. Under the moonlight, zombies appeared at the bend in the mountain road. Seconds later, they swarmed towards me. I closed my eyes, familiar with the pain of being bitten, which would soon revisit me. They lunged at me, and I smelled the disgusting stench of decay. But as seconds passed, 1, 2, 3 seconds, 10 seconds and more, the anticipated excruciating pain did not occur. In shock, I opened my eyes, and there before me was my senior. She stood among the zombies, her eyes blood-red, staring at me. The surrounding zombies seemed disoriented, sniffing wildly in all directions, baring their teeth but not biting me. Senior sister, what's happened to you? My head buzzed. Had she turned into a zombie? Why had the other zombies also started acting strangely? Then something even more bizarre happened. The zombies scattered like headless flies in every direction. My senior sister didn't leave. She just stood there, dazed. Aside from her blood-red eyes and pale skin, she didn't look too terrifying. I reached out to touch her, but she suddenly stepped back, as if frightened. Hesitantly, I took a few steps towards the car, but she remained where she was. I slung my backpack over my shoulder, pointing towards the direction of S-Town. Senior sister, shall we go together? She didn't respond. I tried walking a few dozen meters forward, and she followed me from a distance. Not too far, not too close. Overjoyed, I realized my senior sister hadn't left me. She was always by my side, not as an unconscious zombie. So, under the night sky, we made our way to the mountain peak, one behind the other. I was thrilled that this time we could enter the safe base together. I forgot all my fatigue. Even the steep mountain road felt easier. Every time I looked back at my senior, she was there. At 6 in the morning, I finally reached the summit, where my phone picked up a clear signal. Soon, I received a message, please stay in touch. We have sent people for rescue. I was overjoyed. I waved my phone at my senior. We're saved. We're going to make it. With blood-red eyes and an expressionless face, my senior kept a steady pace, following me neither too closely nor too far. Thus, we descended the mountain slowly but with determined steps. At the foot of the mountain, I excitedly saw a huge iron gate. It was the largest iron gate I had ever seen, thick and heavy, painted black, and covered with netting. It seemed that not even a sparrow, let alone a zombie, could get through. As soon as I appeared, a green light scanned us. After a moment, the gate opened, and several fully armed soldiers came out. Their guns pointed not at me, but at my senior behind me. It was then I realized that I was under the green light, but my senior was bathed in a strange blue glow. Fire, commanded the leader with a gesture. I was terrified and rushed to shield my senior. Don't shoot, she's not a zombie. Their guns remained aimed at us. Desperate, I placed my hand near my senior's mouth. Really, look, she's not biting me. If she were a zombie, she would bite. My senior is not a zombie, please. I beg you to look carefully. My voice was piercing and hoarse. After what seemed like an eternity, one of them spoke into a walkie-talkie, then drew his gun and fired. My senior fell, everything went black for me, and I fainted. When I woke up again, everything around me was stark white. I looked down to see myself in white clothes, lying on a single bed with an 4 drip next to me. Soon, 2 people in protective suits came in. One of them asked, "Awake, how do you feel? Why did you have to kill her? She wasn't a zombie," I said. Sitting up and rushing towards the door, pulling out the 4 needle, they stopped me, saying clearly, "That was just a special anesthetic. The atypical infected person who was with you has been taken to a research facility. She may have some kind of antibody." Atypical infected, yes, don't worry, this is our first encounter with an atypical infection. After being bitten, she developed a strange substance that can interfere with zombies. We are studying it. My heart raced, really. Of course, I pressed further. "You won't dissect her, will you? Will you hurt my senior?" "Rest assured, our scientific research does not harm the innocent." After several days of isolation, I left the hospital room and went to Base 1. There, like me, were survivors who had risked everything to respond to the radio signals during this time. Several more days passed, and I finally received a call from my grandfather. He was extremely anxious but relieved that I was safe, hearing his voice. Tears fell, but I reassured him with a smile. "I'm all right, isn't this okay?" I asked. "Isabella, how did you get from the school to S-Town? It's so far away," Grandpa asked worriedly. I softly shared the story about my senior sister with him. Grandpa was extremely surprised after hearing it. "Is her name Amelia? Does she have several white patches on her skin and is she thin?" I was stunned. "Grandpa, you know her." "Yes," Grandpa recalled. "You were about 7 or 8 years old. Once, after school, you came with me to collect scrap, and we saw Amelia in a pile of garbage. She said she was unwanted. Do you remember?" "I can't remember clearly." "Then what happened?" "I felt sorry for the child and offered to take care of her. She cried a lot after hearing that." My heart clenched, thinking of my senior sister's past. In the end, her mother came looking and took her away. After that, there was no news. Grandpa sighed. "Over the years, I've occasionally thought of that unfortunate girl." Tears welled up in my eyes. It turns out, everything is interconnected. My senior sister and I didn't just know each other in a past life. We met when we were very young. A few days later, the research institute brought good news. They had extracted cells and blood from my senior sister and discovered a substance that could combat the deadly virus. They were now testing this substance in animal trials, and if successful, it could be used on infected individuals. However, it could only be used on zombies whose bodies were intact. Those who were severely damaged were beyond help, like Abigail, Evelyn, Grace, and others. I was overjoyed and went to see the person in charge that day, insisting on visiting my senior sister. This time, he did not object. A month later, I finally saw my senior sister again through a protective glass. She was lying in bed wearing a white hospital gown, her face still very pale, and her lips colorless. Senior sister, I called out loudly. After a few calls, her eyelids moved. Then, she opened her eyes and looked towards me. Her eyes were back to normal, and her lips moved slightly. I could make out what she was saying. "Isabella, we survived."